to Westview to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I am the Uncanny Chris.
I'm the podcaster, Miss Just Snow.
And I am Pun Master Tim Rooney here because I called out these goons last week, and so I admitted to coming on this week.
Alliance Assemble.
Boom, we're here at volume 35. But see, that's what we do. So if you listen to the end credit scene, we're talking about Twitter and Twitter fights, how that's not needed. See, last week Tim calls us a goon, and what do? We invite him on. That's what we do here at Marvel Alliance. We don't want to fight. We don't want to get to the airport. We want everybody to have a good time.
He was about to say make love.
I was going to say make love. We want to make love, not war, like Stanley's last cameo. But Tim, how are you doing today? Welcome to the first time here.
I am doing wonderful. I am very thankful for you guys to have me on. And I thought I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to be very artsy. I have one of my actual film lights up to light this for this Zoom call. But I'm like, I wonder if I'm overdoing it. And I see you, Travis. I'm like, oh, man. I mean, he's got mixed color temperatures and everything like that. I can't compete right now.
He'll change the colors halfway through. Watch, he'll do it. There we go. See?
God. This is the fade option. But I better turn off quick because I never know. I want to be sensory safe. I don't want to, because there's a flash option too. I hit it accidentally and it went crazy. But yeah, I have the whole thing's rainbow. But I will say, one part of the half, I have two of them put together. One quarter is broken, so it's always a different color. So if I go to pink, it's like a light green or something. It's not great. So that's what happens when you spend $20 on LED lights.
Like I just imagine you just see the constant changing. Like a neighbor's gonna be like, I think they have a party over there, and then all of a sudden you have people knocking down your door thinking you have a gathering going on.
People understand because across the way they also have these lights in two rooms. I only have it in one, so they're beating me right now. But I know people didn't tune in for light talk, so I'll throw the plugs in and then we'll get talking about some stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Geek All Alliance. It is 10 shows, 7 days a week. You got a show for everything. You got World's Finest True Believer on Monday. Chris, you didn't tell me that you were doing a Brent double back to back. You had him on last week and you had Retro on.
Well, it more came about because one of our listeners, Steve Rogers, was talking about
you
possibly
listener,
diving in.
Right. I forgot you guys. I've seen you guys talk with him. I forgot there's actually a guy named Steve Rogers.
Yeah, he was talking about getting into Invincible and asked our opinion. And Brent and I was like, "Why are you asking it? Just do it now." And I told him we would drop the retro of Invincible in it. So I'm a man of my word, and it dropped this week. So yeah, retro of Invincible, the first 13 issues. And that was Brent's first appearance. So we said, hey, why not, like you said, a Brent doubleheader? What could possibly be go wrong with that? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, if you have him on next week, it'll be the World's Finest True Brenters or something like that. I was not trying to do a pun or anything like that. I was just like, I was surprised, like Brent's back. That's great. Then Tuesday you got DC Alliance. They got lots of good stuff going on over there. Jared Leto no longer has tattoos, so I cannot wait to talk about that at some point. But that's exciting over there. Today is our day, or Wednesday. If not, it's Tuesday live. Thursday is a nice trinity of Ranger Alliance, Slice of Film, and Star Wars Alliance. Check the schedule, see which days those drop. Friday is superhero discussions with Super Civil Servants recording live. And then Saturdays when the auto drops for that. And then Saturday and Sunday, Weird Science comes up with their Marvel and DC Comics roundup. I think that's the most quickest I've ever done it. So I'm pretty happy. Go to Patreon. There's exclusive stuff there.
Most quickest.
Yeah. Well, in honor of the big topic today. And then I know Katie and Sarah are working on they're gonna drop Bridgerton, which I've not seen. I've not heard. Like I know it's a popular show, but they're gonna drop a review of that on there. So that should be exciting. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on as always. We kind of do this at the end, but I feel like we should do this at the beginning because I know you've had on World's Finest True Believers, but for our listeners, Tim, tell everyone a little about yourself and where they can find you and what you do, just in case this is their first time hearing you in our interwebs.
Well, first off, thank you again for having me on. I am a filmmaker and podcaster from Long Island, New York. I host two shows, my personal show, the Anything Goes podcast, where I talk about a plethora of geek and pop culture. Like as of this call, I should say, I just sort of dropped my second commentary track for Halloween 6, this time about the theatrical cut. And that's my friend Mike and I. Since we had poor scheduling through the month of January, we recorded both episodes on the same day. So we watched Halloween 6 twice in one day. So by the end of that episode, we're just like, all right, we're going to walk 20 paces and we're going to turn around and shoot each other. This is what we deserve for this. My other podcast, Please Rewind, the RF4RM Retro Show, talk about movies when it comes to their anniversaries. And Like I said, I'm a filmmaker, so my YouTube channel, youtube.com/through the lens productions, through as if you're going through a window. All my short films are up there. And I know later on this year, Chris will be on Anything Goes. We're going to be talking about a landmark science fiction movie because he's been kind enough to have me on his show several times. I think I owe it to him to have invited him on my show. And so look forward to that.
Yes, I am definitely. I'm one of these people that I don't try to invite myself on things. I just I wait for permission at that point.
Podcasting with new people is kind of like a first date. You never know. Someone has to extend the olive branch first, things like that. Someone has to call you a goon, which I recommend people don't do that if you're trying to get a date, though. Don't call the person a goon because, it might work, might not, but, works better in the podcasting world.
That's true. And then Chris, he just sent me a photo of a puppy. And he says, if you want to see this puppy again live, allow me on your show. And I'm like, all right, you could have just DM'd me, but all right, I guess we'll have to go extreme this way.
Because that totally is like me. I'm totally the Doctor Doom of this show.
Hey, well, if Armory Hammer can get up to some trouble, then
take a bite out of that, are we?
Let's not.
There we go. That was a good one.
There we go. There's number one.
Well, maybe let's go into somewhere else that's maybe a little. Well, I guess might not be as dark as that, but it's still a little dark.
That's really dark mode right there.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Little more. Well done. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That's quite a tasty subject to start on. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about WandaVision episode 5. As always, there's spoilers and whatnot, but usually I start with Chris. I want to start with Tim because you and I have talked, and I know, Chris, your somewhat thoughts on your thoughts on the season. Tim, other than a few Twitter thoughts I've seen, what have been your thoughts on the overall season so far? And then what was your thoughts on this kind of previous episode?
It is curious because I was having this thought when the show was announced. I was concerned. That was the first feeling I had because I thought, because we've had all these movies, but we've seen those stories about people going into Infinity War or Endgame as their first Marvel movie, unaware of the fact that it's a culmination of 11 years of storytelling leading up to that point. And then we were expanding into a TV show. I was wondering, are they spreading themselves too thin? Are we now having homework attached to this story that we want to be a part of? And I'm like, I was a little lukewarm on the idea. Then 2020 happened, and I was like, all right, I really need some Marvel in my life right now. And so when this came out, and I'm a fan of sitcoms, I grew up watching reruns of whether it be I Love Lucy or Sanford and Son, All in the Family. So having this show up, I was like, okay, I'm here for this. And it's only one episode. It wasn't this week. It was last week's episode. I think it was the only episode I thought all right, we didn't really, we found a little background details of it. We didn't really progress the story forward. That's the only episode I had issues with. But up until this point, I'm here for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm really scared how this thing is going to shake out because I'm like, I don't want things to change. But clearly, as this episode shows this past week, things are definitely going to have to change.
Mm-hmm. Chris, where were you on this last week as well episode?
Yeah, this is, every week, as I've said for, I think pretty much almost every episode in some ways, a little bit more than others, is you think we just got strange. Next episode is Hold My Beer. And I think this was, I'd called one or two things last week. I definitely thought that this was going to be, I think we've gone away now pretty much for the rest of the season, I think, for a whole sitcom episode. Like I thought we were going to get a good mix of sitcom and present day, which is what we got. I also thought that this was going to be an episode where Vision really starts kind of quote unquote rebelling and really questioning things, and Wanda kind of starting to lose her control of the reality, or what she can control is going to be a little more limited. Especially we see that with the twins. So I was very happy. I think a lot of us who have been, particularly in this show, we've been discussing the rumors of Evan Peters and things like that. And so I think it was interesting how, as we got closer to the show, more and more rumors had said that, we don't know if this is going to be Evan Peters Quicksilver, but, I found it interesting that more and more, well, maybe he's not Quicksilver. Even before the show started, the rumor started changing. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I thought it was a really good episode. I really liked, I every episode. I think this one and the last episode have been my favorites of the season.
I think I can agree with that. I really enjoyed this episode because I was caught off guard because I did think we were going to go back to just the comedy, which I did like the sitcoms and everything like that. But I think with me it was tough because I remember episode 4 when Monica gets shot out, and I was like, oh, I still want to see what's happening with her, and that was going to thing is like, am I still gonna have to wait 2 more episodes to find out what's happening with them? And I think it was a good balance of the real world and then the sitcom world. So I think they did a good job there. I'm kind of surprised all the stuff that's happening is happening already at episode 5, which is a good thing because we got 4 more episodes, so that gets me even more intrigued for what's happening. But even this Evan Peters stuff, which is so funny because that was our for people that don't know, Marvel Alliance, the first episode, me and Chris like pre-recorded because of the first one we got it done. But then the second episode, our first ever main topic was the Evan Peters Quicksilver thing. So it's kind of a fun, like, how's it go? How did it start? How's it going? And it's funny that we're here. And this is because for a while I always joked, I said, like, what if he's not in this? Because we've heard this before. Like I always bring up, but Matt Smith was always supposed to be in episode 9 for Star Wars. And he never appeared. Not once. He wasn't in a single scene, but I think it was like a Deadline Variety that put that out there. And sometimes people get cut. And that's where I thought, well, what if this is just a big joke? And the fact that we had talked about that since they started mentioning the brother, we knew that, okay, it's going to, whether it's him or Aaron Taylor Johnson, one way or another, Quicksilver is going to be introduced to this, because you just can't drop that many hints, I think, and kind of make it a semi plot point and not follow up on it. And I loved the reveal of it. I loved the kind of the sitcom way of like the way a character would be gone for like a season or episode to come back and the crowd's cheering everything. And I love that it's just like, we don't know. And that's what's been fun all week is, what is the situation? Is this a Quicksilver that she just made up? Is this a Quicksilver she pulled from the multiverse of the X-Men films and he's there? Is it Mephisto? Is it some other evil being? And that's why I love that this big debate that everybody has different angles and everyone makes, I still think I am on the side that this guy's no good and he's evil, but everyone brings up, or someone brings up a point, they go, oh, you might be right. But Tim, where are you on the Quicksilverness of this all?
Well, yeah, like we did have like a who shot JR moment right there, where instead of opening the bathroom to see in the shower to see like, oh wait, he wasn't shot. No, we have Evan Peters here as Quicksilver. I thought like, there's no way they're gonna acknowledge the Fox X-Men movies whatsoever. Like, it's a nice idea. It's a nice idea to make fans like say, what if one day, like if bars were open, it'd be like one of those things like, what would be cool if they did X, Y, and Z. But now the fact that we do have Evan Peters there, which I know for our community, our niche community, we're like, holy shit, there's like so many possibilities. But I bet you there's probably, if not more, people wondering like, who ? Of him showing up. But I'm curious, like, I want to know if this is the legit Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies, or is it Mephisto or whatever. I am very curious about that. But like every good story, it leaves you wanting more. And you know what? I'm like, as soon as the episode ended, I'm like, I gotta wait a week. And so I'm just like, but it made me excited. So it made me look forward to Friday.
What about you, Chris? Where are you? Because I've talked a little bit about this, but obviously it could go kind of multiple ways as far as what they're going to do with this. Because and were you surprised that he was here in episode 5, or did you think that was kind of a good landing point for him?
No, I think it was a good landing point just because of how the episode was going. There's something that needed to they're following a lot of very common tropes as we talked about with sitcoms and just dramedies at that point. Something's, their Vision and Wanda are at odds. They're questioning, he's questioning everything. Wanda's kind of losing necessarily her a little bit of a control, and then all of a sudden something breaks the tension in the room, and it's someone that she shouldn't recognize at all. Mm-hmm. and it's Pietro, but not the Pietro as we know. I don't know. Would I love it to be the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe? Yes, it would be very interesting, because then this is our first mutant that we had, like, first quote unquote named mutant, even though we know that hopefully eventually Wanda's going to be labeled a mutant at that point. So I mean, it's going to beg into question just different things that we didn't think that this is how mutants were going to be introduced, or at least the first mutants. But I could definitely buy into he there are alternatives, and this is when Wanda says, I didn't do this. There is, and we can go into this a little bit later, but there is someone else pulling the strings. Wanda, in my opinion, is not acting alone, and she's not doing everything on her own. I think there is someone doing some pushing and some manipulating unbeknownst to her.
Well, what I was going to ask you is if if this Quicksilver is from a different universe and whatnot, do you like it? Even if it's the Fox one, do you think we could eventually get a moment that we saw Vision touch people and then they kind of snap out of it? If he is that, is that the case? What would have to happen? Because he doesn't seem. We only got the small appearance, so it could happen next episode where he talks about, I'm from this and blah blah. But like to me, if he was from a different universe, just ripped out of it, he would seem kind of a little kerfuffled, right? He'd be like, why am I here? What's going on? But he's cool and calm. He gives her a hug. Could we see that scenario where he's also been brainwashed? Like that's the only thing. Like if it is another Quicksilver, like it has to go some route like that where he still doesn't know necessarily, because like I said, he's to me too calm for him just to be like, yeah, I just came from the Fox universe,
Yeah, some manipulation's been had at that point, because again, it's just like, I'm just going to show up in the door and act like I know this person.
Yeah,
there is manipulation happening, and the fact that Wanda genuinely looks surprised, shocked, and a little bit confused at first, and then someone finally, when he says, "Aren't you going to give a hug to your long lost brother?" And you would think of reaction, "Oh, get away from me! I don't know who you are, stranger."
I mean, if he is from another universe, he did quickly adapt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that with Monica too. All of a sudden she changes over into a different personality.
That's true. I'm still unclear about that. Was she a different personality, or was she playing along? Because I feel like they've said it kind of multiple ways, like in episode 4 when they're like, oh, she's just kind of going with, like, I still don't know if they've clarified it. Even in this episode, I don't think they fully clarified, was she always like under mind control, or did sometimes she play along? Because at first I thought, oh, she was just deep undercover the whole time, but then I don't know, I feel like they're still not clear on that aspect. But still, everybody else has been mind wiped, right? Or even then though, I don't know, because so here's the thing, we know, like with Norm, when he got touched and then he like snaps out of it, and then Vision puts him kind of back in, Marvel's version of kind of the Get Out verse, as far as he's somewhere, what was that called, what was, do you guys remember in Get Out where they would put the people in their minds?
Oh
yeah, I remember it was expression for a while, especially when Kanye was going off the handle. People said he was like in the shallow and the deep or something like that. Like either way,
like a deep pool or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. But either way with Norm, we've done that. But then with Catherine Hahn, when she does, which I know we talk about Agnes and everything like that, but like she did, and even Herb a few episodes ago, like, should we tell him, blah, blah, and she's kind of breaking character. She's not staying in character when she goes, oh, you want me to do that again? You want me to take the babies, right? That would make it seem like, okay, she's playing along. So that's why I still am questioning the whole kind of mind touch thing, exactly what that does, because to me, if she's just completely under control, Catherine Hahn shouldn't be asking her, do you want me to do that again? And that's what I found another thing interesting this week, which I know we have theories about Agnes and what she could be up to, but it was interesting that she kind of was cognizant of something was going wrong.
Well, it's also interesting, and I've seen theories of like, it's particularly with that sequence that, when she said, do you want me to take it from the top? And Wanda almost looks like she's got two different personalities. She's very much got split personalities, in a sense of like, she's got her TV personality, but when she exits the realm, that's Wanda.
Yeah.
And so she looks visibly confused when she said, do you want me to take from the top? And Wanda's like, what are you talking about? And then but she's kind of like, stop saying what you're saying. And I think you're on to some, you have a good point where was Monica playing along somewhat, or was she kind of, at moments she was falling into the reality, and other moments she was fighting it, but knew enough not to totally break character? I could see it a little bit of both.
Going back to your previous point, the sunken place. That's the term.
There you go.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. And then that's what, to me, they're pushed back as off same people, and bring up this quote when Norm says, oh, it hurts. She has this under her control. We don't know who the she is, but okay, thank you. Cause that's exactly what I'm thinking. But then we've kind of seen, like I said, Herb, even a few episodes was like, oh, should we tell him? So it is interesting, like how much these people have control and how much they don't. And, Yeah, Wanda, obviously to me, like, I know we got Quicksilver and that was shocking, but for me, maybe a follow-up or just close to that was Wanda actually going through the portal in this episode. I did not think that would happen. So like how she just did it so effortlessly, and just to, like, lay down the law, do some Magneto stuff and go along. And then we also kind of got the twofer of tying that to her breaking into Sword and taking Vision's body. So there's still, even though it looks like I think there's someone controlling her, there's still doubling down on the she's an antagonist villain sort of thing. That may be not so much in a few episodes once we revealed the greater bad. And some people, I like the theory, have brought up that Vision and Sword, maybe something bad was happening, like they're experimenting on or something like that. I don't know if I want that. I've said this to Chris before. I don't want Sword. I don't want another evil Shield thing. I don't want them to be this nefarious sort of, they're good, but they have ulterior motive. They can have some ulterior motives, but I don't want right out of the gate already for us not to trust this new version of Shield, because then it's just kind of redundant to what we got a few phases ago.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say Sword is the evil organization at that point. I mean, they're the organization that in the MCU version, sentient weapons at that point. They're monitoring it and making sure, because again, how many times is New York going to get blown up before an organization is going to be tasked with watching them? And it was interesting to see when Wanda goes out, we get her accent back. And that was really, the first time I'd realized, oh my gosh, you're right. We hadn't heard that accent in a little while now. And, the move, like you said, the homage to what Magneto did in the first movie with the guns training on them. And the idea that, you have the Stark, it's a Stark drone at that point. So again, we've said Sword's been around for a while. So Stark has known more than likely about Sword, did know about Sword, what was going on with that, and had some sort of possible, obviously, dealings with that. I kind of want to talk about the twins for a little bit. The idea that she can't control the twins. It brings up the idea that they're real autonomous beings created by her own magic, and they're powerful. The twins have their own stuff. They play. I love the trope that one season you get a baby, and then the next season, without explanation, they're 5 years old. I think that was either Family Ties or Growing Pains that had that happen with one of the characters. It's a common trope, but when the twins' colors, what they're wearing, are very homage to the comics of Speed and Wiccan, but when the twins want to age up from 10 years old to when they had that special moment for the very special episode with Sparky passing away, she stops them. And I started thinking about, like, why is she not only stopping them from aging up to do that? The age 10, that is when she and Pietro lost her parents. She wants them to hold on to, she wants them to have the childhood that she and Pietro never had. And she doesn't want them to lose that by aging up.
Off to a great start with the robot dad and everything like that.
I mean, like, I think the kids should be okay to be grown up, as long as they don't have a Stark missile blow up their house, which could happen. Like, Sword may invade and start bombing the town. We don't know, but you're right. It is curious to see the twins grow up like that, and we've seen her to have complete control over the town. But the fact that, like you'd mentioned, that these kids they're not part of the hive mind, that they're their own sentient beings, which is curious. And I'm sure that's going to lead to conflict later down the road. And like, as going back to what you're saying before about her accent being back, I mean, I made that joke when Brent was on my show where we talked about Infinity War, when her accent wasn't really detectable, because you look back to Age of Ultron, I made the joke, like, she sounds like she's going to kill Moose and Squirrel, as if she's part of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like, that's how thick the accent is. And seeing it come back here, like, okay, I like that. And I did see an article speculating what they were doing with Vision's body. Maybe they're trying to make another Ultron. That's what Sword was trying to do. And I'm like, I could see that, but going back to your previous point, I don't want to see Sword be the bad guys already.
Yeah, and because I think that's what we talked about a few times is with this show, it being unique, and that's what people like, and they want that in these comic book genres because, like, it's at the end of the day, it's superheroes fighting and stuff, right? So you have to find a way to make that different, and I think you don't want to go down that route. We've talked a few times, Tim, of like with these kids, the end result. Do you think these kids are gonna make it past the show? Do you think like further iterations, whether it be movies, TV shows, you'll see these characters, or do you think these kids are maybe kind of maybe just 4 episodes left in their run, and that's all we get of them?
I think the possibility of those kids could happen in the future. I don't think these kids are making it out of the show. I feel like the reality of this world will come crashing down when Wanda has an argument with the corpse of Vision. And I know it's going to be really dark, and like there may be a content warning at the head of that episode where when we had a legitimate jump scare a few episodes back when we saw a glimpse of what Vision really looks like. I imagine it's going to be something like that where either Wanda's going to fully accept this or it's going to go awry and may lead into the multiverse of madness.
What about you, Chris? Because we've talked about, are you anywhere? Because you were just talking about them being like, they're making their own choices, things like that. That was the first time where I was like, oh, maybe they could make it out. But I just, with kind of like, I feel like this has such an impending doom to it. It's always tough for me to be like, yeah, but why would, because I always have said if the kids get taken away and it's like in Doctor Strange, she has to go find them or get them back. I don't think that is like a breaking moment. I think that would be her being very motivated to go do something and figure that out. To me, it's like, well, visions are gone, kids are gone. That could explain a lot of things like we just talked about. So what do you think about these kids? And also I want to ask you, so Vision, which great scene. I think this is Paul Bettany's best scene in the series so far when he's breaking down and the credits start to roll and he's like, no, like don't, none of this. And he's acting his butt off. So great job. Like it was just fantastic to watch like Marriage Story, but in the MCU happening for a little bit. That was great. But Vision specifically says there's a playground, but there's no kids here. There's no kids whatsoever. We know next week is the Halloween episode, and we saw previous months ago that there's other kids trick-or-treating. So one, where do you feel about the twins' kind of life expectancy right now? And two, what do you think's going on now that, he calls out there's no kids and now there's kids,
Well, it's the children of the corn.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of creepy when I sent you all that image. It's like from someone else that tweeted out saying, I'm really scared now because there are only 2 kids and then there are a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm kind of like a 50-50 kind of shot if the kids make it out. I'm definitely, if Vision doesn't make it out, I'm thinking we're getting White Vision. We're going to get Vision back, but everything is going to be mind wiped. He has ideas, but it is not the same Vision. Mm-hmm. I could definitely see that happening, and Wanda has lost everything because it's not her vision. It's not the person that she fell in love with. It's a completely blank slate. So that'll even more break her heart on top of losing her kids. It's rather interesting when you come down to who, like going back to the control, and I go back to Agnes in the sense of control. She jokes around by saying she's spraying the lavender on the kids. And then she talks about, how she seems to be there right before they age up. She's there when they age again with Sparky. And then she tries to nudge her around about raising the dog from the dead. Mm-hmm. This control thing. And I'm wondering, again, Wanda brought up the point, and you can only believe her so much. Like, how am I controlling everything? I can't control, like, when they go to the dentist. I can't control this. So that's, even I think Monica or Agent Wu brings it up. Like Darcy, that's amazing amount of power. And she, in the comics, we know she can't have that ability to do that. But that's an amazing amount of power if she can just create all of that. Not far from the possibility, but she is acting on a level we had not seen her yet.
Well, and that's why I'm wondering about these kids to see where they pop up, because that was my whole thing I talked about on Geek versus why. The reason I thought Evan Peters is something bad, even if he's not Mephisto, if he's just like something to distract her, like he could just literally disappear and he was a fake brother distraction, right? He doesn't have to be the big bad. But I just thought that Wanda and her are arguing. They're slowly starting to put together some pieces, right? He's bringing things up. She doesn't have answers. She's starting to think about things. And then here you go, inject, long lost brother. This will distract you for a few, days or whatnot. And that's why I still wonder too, is like, I don't think it'll be her. So I feel like if whatever this evil being is puts kids in this universe is like another, like to try to help Vision to be like, oh no, there's kids here. Like, don't worry about it. It's fine. But it's going to be very interesting. And and honestly, whatever happens to him, I'm just so happy with this legacy cast and Evan Peters, because it was just when I've watched it back to see, Elizabeth Olsen, who's WandaVision in the MCU, and then him, who was Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies. Even if nothing ever happens, even if he's gone by next episode, it's just a fun, cool moment we're always going to have to see these kind of universes literally colliding. But I am very interested next week to see what we get with Evan Peters running around per se. So Tim, do you have any thoughts about what we could be seeing next week, or anything you hope to see or want to see or don't want to see?
What I want to see is at least some sort of explanation of Evan Peters' existence,
Mm-hmm.
even just like a hints at it, and maybe in another attempt at the people outside, whether it be Monica or Sword themselves, try to get back in there and see what the repercussions could be, because Wanda warned them not to go in there, not to interfere. And if they push that boundaries again, will she retaliate? And will that affect their relationship? Like what Sword will do with this town and what they intend to do with Wanda. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. But also, as just a fan of design of costumes, even though it is kind of lame that it's like, oh, we have to make it Halloween. That's how we can justify the silly costumes they can wear. At least we're getting the costumes, so I'll begrudgingly accept them.
Well, and it's funny because you brought Monica. She did talk about like trying to get back in there, something like that. And we had three kind of fun developments for her this episode. One, her X-rays aren't showing up, so superpowers. Two, she's not. Yeah, two, she's not seemingly on good terms with Captain Marvel, so we don't know what that's fully about. And then three, I agree with this. Joe from Comic Rundown, he brought this up, and this is what happens when you review Geek First, because I was up at 1 a.m. reviewing. I had made note and completely forgot to mention it, but they did a hard zoom in on her texting somebody. I think Tim knows, for writing and directing, you don't zoom on anything unless it's important. There's no like they're not just like, and get a shot of her hand. Why? Oh, because she's on a phone. No, if she was just texting somebody, she'd be off in the background. Blah, blah. So second, that was like the full screen. It's her hand, the phone. Okay, this person is someone important. Now, I've seen some people jump really far to like, it's Reed Richards. I'm not going to jump with you on that one.
He is into aerospace.
I know. It's just like, I could see it being a character that would lead to Reed Richards maybe eventually, but if this show ends with Reed Richards or something like that, I would be shocked, but I just don't know if that is the place. I know other people have these theories of like dimensions of astronauts and all this stuff. So I'm not saying they're crazy. There's still percent that could happen, but I'm not ready to make that full leap yet. But I'm very interested to see who she was texting.
How about these other two options? Rhodey. Rhodey's got some of that experience, and two, anyone from the Ant-Man family, in the sense of, you look at that vehicle we've seen in the trailer that is very reminiscent of the vehicle from Ant-Man and the Wasp that they used to go into the quantum realm to rescue Janet.
It's possible. It's possible. I'm like, you got the Jimmy
Woo,
because
it protected Hank going into the realm. So I mean, they're looking for something to protect them from not getting influenced in going back in.
So not that it would matter that much, but I think if it's someone from Ant-Man, they would have Jimmy Woo texting them, because the 5 years they've also been gone too. Not saying Monica couldn't have met them before, but all the Pims, everything like that, they got snapped. So, and Rhodey, maybe I haven't heard any suggestion yet, though, that has jumped at me. That has been like the one. And I'm sure when it shows up in the show, I'll go, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And because the only thing is, if she's texting a new character, it does have to be someone of note. It can't just be like, just so and so, and the crowd will have no idea who it is. And like, okay, that's cool. But Tim, you have anybody you think, or you're kind of off in the wilderness as far as who you think she'd be texting?
I think like you were saying, like it should lead somebody to Reed Richards. So I think she's texting the Baxter building itself, and then the building itself will going to show up, and then the Fantastic Four will show up. I would hope. I mean, just as a fan, like I wanted to be Reed Richards just to see, hey, Reed Richards is in this. But if it's not, and it's somebody more contained in the MCU that we have right now, I'm fine with that. Like hell, like even if it's just Rocket shows up, somebody who knows how to deal with aerospace, like they're like, I'll be like, I'm not gonna be like, okay. I'm like, oh, Rocket Raccoon, fine, I guess that's okay. I'm not gonna besmirch that or begrudge that. I will be happy that to show that it shows that this program is not just limited. Oh, we're in our own little bubble. No, we have the entire universe to play with, and we're doing that.
I wanted to be Rocket now just so he has to go through the portal and see what it does to him, because everyone gets the old timey clothes and stuff like that. Like, is he also going to get the old timey clothes as a raccoon, or is he going to be just a regular raccoon? Like that would pose a lot of questions.
He turns into a Davy Crockett hat. That's what he turns into. It's a sentient one of that. It's like, oh no, like, oh God, like that thing's talking.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, a few more things like you brought up earlier. when Alabesh says like she's in my head, I really wanted. I'm pretty confident we're gonna dig more into that. It seems to we can go. The simplest explanation obviously is the right one. We obviously could be Wanda, but I like to think again. It's someone else. Is it Dottie? Is it Agnes? I did like some of the, towards the end of this, as we're getting towards the end, I can point out a couple of Easter eggs. All the animals in this episode, could be like, they're all like trapped in a zoo. This whole thing is like a zoo, kind of everyone's looking at each other, and they're all like, I like a lot of the animal themes, but how about the commercials? This commercial, and this has been an interesting theme of how each one of these commercials is linked to a trauma she's dealt with.
Well, it's interesting because now, so what, we got the Civil War one when she blows up Crossbones and then it doesn't go well. So that's the thing where it's like, so if we've hit that one, and
that's Lagos.
Yeah, you got to think about the
blood on her hands.
Yeah, you got to think about the trauma that's coming up next, right? And I would, in my opinion, that would be Vision, right? Between Civil War and Infinity War. So that would mean, let's say we get Vision next week, which would be a big time to, I think Vision is going to, if we saw this week him questioning things and on the nth degree of being like, hey, this isn't right, I think we're maybe not fully see that break, but by the end of this episode, he may be on his own path of like, I need to stop. Like, because another theory I've had too is like with Vision, people keep talking about like what's going to happen. I think your White Vision theory could be correct, but I think it would maybe happen down the line. I think maybe when Scarlet is away, I still think there's a chance that maybe he chooses like to self-destruct or something. Once if he thinks that Wanda is doing all this before like the big bad is revealed, he might go like, I don't want to be a part of doing this to random people. Like he was really up to it, which granted, if I found my fiance was mind wiping people and hurting them, yeah, I'd be a little upset too. But he was very upset when he found out I have a Norm. He's like, you won't let him see his family. He's trying to contact them. He was, and he's already kind of off kilter as well because he doesn't know his life or anything. So I could see him making kind of a self-sacrificing play, and that could be even worse as far as her feeling like no one took Vision away this time. Like he pushed himself away from her, and that's where we could see something down the line. But so as far as commercials, I think next week we'll be having to do with Vision. I'm sure it'll have something to do with some socket or something like that. But then if we have
how about this? Something like one of those patchwork jobs.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. You need a whole fix, call so-and-so, blah, 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 call Sword or whatever it may be. But the interesting is maybe that'll be the last commercial, because maybe eventually we're going to get into episodes that have no sitcom, no glaze at all. So maybe that's why
we've got the 90s and then the modern era. So we've got two more.
Yeah, unless they combine them. I've always wondered if they might just split. Like, I could see one in mid-episode if things are going awry, her quickly switch it to try and get Vision off the, like she's trying. But if there is two more, it's going to be very interesting to see what that other one is, because we would know, obviously Vision, I guess we've never got an episode about her brother, have we? Like losing a twin or losing a family member, right?
Because again, we stay back, like the first one was the Stark bomb, the toaster.
Yeah.
The watch is Strucker, Baron von Strucker. Then we get Hydra soap, Hydra. and like we said, Lagos at that point. So it's interesting. I've heard this other one list on Twitter, David Pillay talking about like how each one of them is an homage to the Infinity Stones. The Mind Stone is in the middle of the toaster. The watch is the time stone. The soap is the shape of the tesseract, and the spill is the ether.
That's interesting.
There are only so many more Infinity Stones left, so it won't run the whole way. So it goes to your theory, the commercials probably are going to stop. But I thought that was kind of interesting as well. That's definitely I wasn't even thinking that far as it. That is definitely kudos to him for thinking about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, I'll take back my prediction. I think this week will be about Quicksilver because we have Quicksilver back. It would make sense that the commercial might have something to do with that, and then maybe we get Vision down the line. What about you, Tim?
Well, with that revelation, I'm kind of like, damn, because I was looking forward to Wakanda Patchworks. That's what I was looking forward to with the next one. That's what I was wondering, like if you have a leak in your boat, Wakanda patches. But also I probably laughed a little too hard at the Lagos commercial. Like, if you make a spill, don't worry about it. And I'm like, womp, womp, womp. You killed innocent people. Just the cavalier attitude of that commercial was hilarious to me. So I'm curious to see what the next commercial is. But I wonder if it's going to be one of those things once this season's done. We've seen all the commercials. We've seen all the two worlds colliding. You go back to episode 1 and all the Easter eggs are there, even the facade of the sitcom. Obviously, even in the first episode, we could tell like, oh, things are amiss. But I wonder if things will become even clearer on the second watch through, and it will reward repeat viewings.
I think so.
I definitely think this episode, this whole series begs the whole thing about repeat watchings.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think that's one advantage that like I'm very excited. We're going to talk about Falcon Winter Soldier next and other MCU shows. I think Loki may have that as well, but some of these other shows might be a bit more straightforward, right? Like Hawkeye, She-Hulk, just like, okay, this is the villain, we got to beat them. I don't know if any show's gonna, as far as the ones announced right now, I think unless they get really trippy with Moon Knight, if they do the way, if people like this show, they really should. I know Chris is gonna roll his eyes. Should go raid the Jeff Larry Moore Moon Knight because it's like this, where you're questioning everything.
Why would I roll my eyes at that?
Well, no, because I feel like I bring it up like every second week or something like that because I'm always pimping it out. But yeah, that's where I think this show does have a very fun water cooler thing that I'm very interested. Does Falcon Winter Soldier have that? Is that going to have that same thing where every week do we end and we go, oh, that was good, but is it going to end with, oh, what's this? What's like, I don't know, because there's some shows that do that and some shows that don't. And this show I think is unique in that way. And I think they've done a good job. And it's exciting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Anyone mind me going through a couple of Easter eggs? Just pointed out.
By all means.
So I think the obvious one is the intros. We've got a mix of family ties and growing pains. And at the end is Full House, which was interesting because this was mainly 80s, but we're bridging the gap between the 80s and 90s. There on one of the files of Wanda, this is a constant Disney Pixar thing, putting in every Disney Pixar movie, there's an A113 reference, which was the classroom used by the students of graphic design that later took control of, like, basically were the early Pixar animators. That's always there. How about does she have any weird nicknames? No, sir, not one.
Well, and I feel like that is that just a, like, what do you want to wear? Spandex from X-Men 1? Is that just like a fun shot, or do you think this is the, like, she's gonna get her name like at the end of this?
I think we're gonna get a name. I don't think this is not we're not back to the Fox universe where we're afraid of wearing costumes and saying names. I think it's just like kind of oh yeah, we really haven't called her the Scarlet Witch yet.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, Brent knows the best costumes in the X-Men movies were in Dark Phoenix, right, Brent? I'm sure that'll just, like, he's going to be angry after that, so I apologize.
No, you don't. Own it. That whole sequence of Wanda breaking in, that was supposed to be in the end credit sequence of Endgame, which I'm kind of glad they didn't put that in there. I think that movie was perfect without an end credits, but that's interesting that was supposedly going to be the end credit sequence.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I saw that, I was like, I'm so happy they did not do that. One, I always predicted, like, there's not going to be an end credit. This is the close to it. They have more movies down the line. if that movie, which was already heavy enough, would have ended with her breaking into some facility and taking Vision's dead body, sure, it would have been like, oh, what's next? But I feel like it would have been strange in the moment. From we just had Tony Stark's funeral, we just said bye to Cap and dance with Peggy, and even in the context, we just had Wanda have this nice goodbye with Clint, and then just to have her like whoosh whoosh, like to be going like. So when I read that, I was like, what? I'm very happy that did not happen. I think they were right to punt that to this, and it makes sense too because we still haven't seen that full scene. We've just seen videos of it. I think we will get that full scene at some point. We'll see. I think that realization moment of her going to do that. But I saw it this week, and I'm very happy they did not.
Well, how about we very quickly, when Captain Marvel's name is mentioned, Monica really shrugs that off. In the sense of maybe she holds it against Captain Marvel, Carol, that she never came back to check on and see what's going on with her mom and things like that. Maybe it's a little bit of grudge, but I don't know if we're going to get a full explanation in this one, but where I definitely obviously know she's going to be in Captain Marvel 2. We're probably going to see the end result, but that was very not subtle when she tried to shrug that off.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that scene taken out of Endgame, that whole movie is about endings and saying goodbye and everything. Then suddenly we have a grave robbering scene, more or less. Like, everything's okay, everything's fine. No, give me that body. I'm taking it with me. Like, it would send mixed messages, and especially since you have such a high and low flow throughout that movie, it would just be like horrifying. Like, I'm taking my dead boyfriend's body with me. Don't stop me. But also the bringing up of Captain Marvel, like, you have imagined, like, if Captain Marvel was there, Thanos could have been stopped, Monica would never been blipped, and then she would have been able to say goodbye to her mom on her proper terms. But no, she wasn't there, and that resulted in her not being able to say goodbye to her mother in a proper way. And the fact that all the other events that happened prior, in between the events of the Captain Marvel movie and WandaVision, like, yeah, Captain Marvel could have been helpful in a lot of situations since she wasn't there. So I could see Monica holding just a tiny bit of a grudge.
Yeah.
Well, know what? Someone just has to sit her down and say, hey, it was all Tony Stark's fault. He broke up the Avengers. If the Avengers weren't broken up in Civil War, none of this would have happened. So that's all she has to do. Okay, great. Blame the dead guy.
Yep, exactly. And also pay attention to those newspapers. Those newspapers, every single episode, have had a advertisement for a different type of TV, and I think also referencing kids. So
yeah,
for the children.
Is that all for the Easter eggs?
Yeah. This one. Some of the other ones are just like, if you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, we kind of referenced it a lot of the stuff already. So it'll be interesting. I'm very curious to see the intro they're going to do for this week's one, because those have been entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw to our first ad break, even though I have a question in the YouTube chat that has to center around this, but I feel like it's kind of like a combo. So I'm going to take the break now.
Tony, we had a question way back from Tony to talk about too with this.
Okay, so sure. We're going to take our first ad break. As always, you know how it works. We're at Support Network. We don't get to choose the ads, so you might get 4 McDonald's commercials, but you know what? McDonald's is all right. I like their filet of fish. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, just make sure you adjust your volume if it depends on your podcatcher, and we'll be right back. And we're back. I forgot. What was Tony's question?
He said, if what we saw at the end of this week's WandaVision is true, Quicksilver, do you think others will follow in this step in the rest of the show?
So this is the hardest thing of like, I'm a yes, no, because like, I feel that yes, if it's full on Evan Peters from the X-Men movies, you kind of have to. We've talked about Hugh Jackman before, and we talked about Doctor Strange as far as we can have lots of cameos, right? But at the same time, this is where I've always been surprised about stuff like Patrick Stewart says he has a meeting with Kevin Feige, all this stuff. Like, I always did envision that when Feige got the X-Men and that whole team, they wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to restart it. They wanted to be fresh. And that's where I love Evan Peters. If you ask me if I have my wish, I hope that the whole X-Men gets rebooted, but they bring him in as just like a little side, like, oh, he fell out of the crack from that universe, kind of like Deadpool. Because I think Evan Peters' Quicksilver is phenomenal, and I feel like he was mismanaged a lot in those last 2 movies. He did his best, but look at Dark Phoenix. He's in there for 2 minutes. They break his leg. It's like, really? This is a guy who, to me, is a very talented actor. Go watch American Horror Story. That show is a mess, but he is phenomenal on it. So I do. If it is that, then yes, but I think it could still even be in just cameos or other characters per se. What about you, Tim? If this is the Quicksilver from the Fox universe, does that set the precedent for us seeing more down the line?
It could potentially set a potentially bad precedent, saying like, oh, because suddenly if he is in fact the Quicksilver from that universe, and Feige wants to like, no, I want my own Jean Grey, I want my own Nightcrawler. It could unintentionally says like, what about these actors who play these characters and everything like that? Why don't you bring back Hugh Jackman? Hugh Jackman, I am sure he would play the role into his last days, but I can imagine him wanting to do other things, and to be in that physical condition all the time is a lot of work. So I imagine him like not wanting to be jacked, not to be Hugh Jackman the entire time. So I imagine like, yeah, it could potentially send a bad precedent, but I would curious to see if he wants to do that, because I want to see Deadpool interact with the these MCU characters. I want to see how that works, and I want to see if they actually have an actual censor button for him in this universe. Like he can, like if he can't even swear to like he wants to in his rated R movies.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I don't know how many more. I don't know. I don't think this was our Luke Skywalker moment that everyone keeps on referencing. I think that's going to come at the end, but and I'll still stick with it's probably going to be Doctor Strange, but I don't think that we're going to get any more. I don't believe we're going to get any more quote unquote X-Men in this. I think there's going to be a real proper introduction as a result of this, but I don't think we're going to get any more of this. I think this was the tip of the hat, as close as we're going to get for right now.
Well, and the other reason why to me it's like a tip of the hat is because this is the only character they could do this with. They don't like
it's the easiest introduction.
Well, yeah, but also like MCU and the Fox universe, they shared a Quicksilver. They both had that same character, right? In X-Men, there was no wand over there or anything like that. These were two characters that by legal somehow they could share these characters, and that's how you can make the switch. So it is a unique situation. And then Joshua Perez asked, my whole thing is if Doctor Strange 2 is about fixing the multiverse of madness, then what is really the point of having Evan Peters or anyone else from different universes movies come back for it to be undone? And I think that's an interesting question. That's why I just want to leave it, because like it has to do with the show, but it's also kind of this overall thing. We've talked about this with Flashpoint, and we've talked about this with this movie coming up, and we talked about this when Crisis on Infinite Earth happens as well. It's like there is a line that you want like a bunch of cameos, but you still want to be able to tell a story, right? So like it's difficult for me because like if you're saying, hey, you want to see Willem Dafoe again, you want to see Toby, I'm going to say yes to it all. Like I couldn't be that guy that says, you know what, for story, I turned it down, even though it would probably be better for some of them. But I think that it's to make a sort of event, and comic books have done this. And I think that if you feel like, okay, why do they open it up just to bring these characters in for a little bit and then shoo them away? And if you think that's not good, then I understand that you kind of think, oh, what's the point? They're just cameos. It's just for one movie. But I think it's too creative. But two, also, once that's opened and it's closed, you could reopen it. We've heard rumors before, like, and I don't think this is the case, but they were talking about Sony. If like things went really well, maybe they do more with Toby. Maybe they do with more with Andrew. And like I said, I've been pitching like do Miles Morales, but do with Toby, not with Tom because he's so small or he's so young too. Like, but I don't know why I like that, but like he is set up to, you could write him off, and that's thing that I think this is to revisit some characters, but I think it's just I don't know, do something special, do something out there. But I could see the concern of like, why are we doing this if we're just gonna shoo them all away again after in a couple movies, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we move away from WandaVision and go to the big trailer that we got a 30-second preview on the Super Bowl, and very shortly after that, Disney Marvel Studios does what they do. Said, you think that was good? Here's a full 2 minutes. You just got a taste. Here's a full 2 minutes. And I'm sorry, gentlemen and ladies that are watching and everyone out there, this was outstanding. This trailer met all my expectations for what I've been looking forward to this show. and apparently it broke the records of Black Widow. I think 125 million have viewed the trailers in different formats, or at least have 125 million views.
Very nice. Tim,
So
what do you think of the trailer?
yeah.
Well, there was a game this Sunday. I was unaware. I didn't
It's
know
a
there
big
was.
game.
Oh, it was a
That
big.
foosball.
Oh, right. Those Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, yes. That team right there. I was like, I did not watch the game, so like I just happened to be scrolling through Twitter. I'm like, oh, the new trailer's up. So I opened up on my phone, and I literally had just got done shoveling my driveways again. So I'm literally sitting on my stairs, like kind of like sweating through it, and I'm just like, okay, I finished the trailer. I'm like, I probably should get out of these clothes, but like, no, I got to watch the trailer again. Like, I'm willing to do this, and I was blown away by it, especially just the scale of it, because I was always worried that like as expansive as whether it be the Winter Soldier or Civil War as a movie, I wonder, can you pull it off in a TV show? Will there be some kind of blowback that like, hey, we're gonna have to have a bottle episode, at least one of these episodes, because we can't be blowing up buildings the entire time. But judging by this trailer, to quote Jurassic Park, they spared no expense, and I'm here for it.
I think you're completely right about the scale. I noticed that the first time we got our first trailer, and then even seeing this again, it's just like, wow, this looks kind of what Feige and the team have been saying. Like, it's a movie level and a 6-episode arc, right? And I think, okay, this looks like that. That looks exactly like the movie. Looks great. Budget looks crisp. Got great actors in there. I will say that I think in the minority of I was not blown away like everyone else. I liked the trailer. I enjoyed it, but I will say that I think some people did bring this up. For me, one thing that did not hit was any of the comedy did not work for me. And especially that beat at the end when them staring at each other just didn't work for me. I just like I didn't
Odd.
it was, and it was just like the type of humor they're going for with the staring and the like when she's like, well, what are you, 12? And that's where I was like, it did feel like a very like kind of childish joke. And like I get it that like they're, the bad or like buddy cops sort of get on each other's nerves. It's just that and the whole like you got beat up by a girl and like Sarah.
Yeah, that I'm kind of surprised they not only put that trailer but actually had a line like that. It's like not in this world, but that's not going to work.
Well, yeah, and it's like I know multiple females in the universe that would kick your ass, Sam. So it's like I think Black Widow would probably dispatch you both pretty well too. Like we saw her go to. So it's just like it's not even that. It's just like. I didn't even find it funny. Even Sharon Carter's entrance of when she kicks down like a couple guys, she's like, oh, we're doing this again. It just didn't none of it worked for me. So that I was a little worried about because there's times where I know some people have problems with MCU humor. I really don't, but I do think sometimes it is overused. And one of my big examples is like Doctor Strange. That's a movie that I think they really like lean back on it too much and would take away the moment. I know some people thought I was making a shout Thor Ragnarok, but no, I thought that whole movie was going for that tone, right? Where Doctor Strange to me kind of went a bit back and forth. And then I think the other thing I was disappointed by a little bit with this trailer is like, I think the action looked great, but that's pretty much mostly what we got. Like, I guess what I want is like what we talked about last week with Brent, if they talked about, hey, this is going to tackle some heavy topics and things like that. And we haven't really seen that. We haven't even got hinted about that, and that's where I wish. I get it. It's Super Bowl. You want to get out the mainstream and you want to put out an action trailer. So I think it worked. I get that, but I guess I'm excited. I'm going to be watching no matter what, but I was waiting for that nice hook to be like, oh, okay, here we go. I think the biggest hook for me was the fun stuff with Zemo of like, my plan's not done. Like clearly it didn't work and superheroes shouldn't exist. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. But if we talk about like Anthony Mackie, talk about race and all this stuff, I wanted just a little hint of somewhat deeper intentions. And this felt very 80s actiony of like, look at this, we're badass. And like, okay, looks great, but it just didn't hit me the same way as like the Loki trailer has or WandaVision,
Well, to your point, I think you nailed it right there. I totally see your perspective on it, but like you said, where did this air against the Super Bowl? You want that. I think you're going to get that, because I want that too. I want to know the deeper issues. I think you're going to get that from a final trailer.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing for one more before, like a week or two before the premiere. And you're going to get more of those hints of that. I did like we got our good first looks at the Flag Smashers, the terrorist group, played by solo Star Wars story Aaron Kellman. And these are anti-patriotic. Also, in the comics, they are enhanced as well, so they can definitely stand toe to toe with our people. We still do not have, outside of like leaked images, we still do not have a full view of U.S. Agent. We still got that back of him on the football field running out and slapping the band leaders there's hands. I thought that was interesting, but I thought this was cool, and I think we're gonna see the MCU's introduction to Madripoor.
Yeah, well, we've heard some rumors long time ago of that, and it's very interesting that we're getting all this stuff already.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask is, go ahead, Tim, because I had a follow-up question. But
I was going to say, like, I feel like this trailer was the sizzle, and the next one will be the steak. Now, I know people have complained about ads during the Super Bowl the past couple of years, like, oh, they're lecturing us with all their ads and everything like that. And I'm like, well, that's just being old curmudgeon-y people right there. Don't want to realize the world's changing around them and they're scared. So I imagine they just try to alleviate that by trying to be as action-packed as possible for this trailer. And then the issues they want to address, I hope in the next trailer, they'll hint at them to like, all right, really reel you in to watch the show.
What I was going to ask you, Tim, and I'll ask you this too, Chris, is with U.S. Agent you were just talking about. I have had some discussions with Check Out Geekverse Discord. Lots of people talking there. It's great. We were talking about, like, is it a good thing to be showing off or lack of showing off U.S. Agent as far as so we don't see his face, right? And we're talking about the mainstream. Do you think the conversation was, is it good to put that in there for intrigue of like what's going on, or is there the catch-22 of some people might be like, is this Chris Evans? Now I know some people might laugh like, oh, it's not Chris Evans, but like I'm talking about like the people that don't watch this stuff, that don't look in this news, right? Some of the crowd of the Super Bowl that is just like, oh, I might watch it eventually. Like, is there a risk to maybe not showing that? Like you guys said, we probably have another trailer, so fine, they might show it off. But it's funny, like we've had 2 trailers so far, and there was a teaser a long time ago. You never see his face. They release his poster. He's like small, like Ant-Man, and his face is down. So like, I think it's personally a good idea because I think people look at it and go, oh, that's interesting. And I don't think people would be too disappointed because I think they'll use it as a twist in an episode. But I see the the argument of you got to be a little careful because you don't want anyone to misplace that. But I think it does. I think it's good for the general audience to have some intrigue. They're like, oh, what is this? Why is Captain America back, or a lookalike of Captain America? I thought Sam was Captain America.
Chris, do you want to go with that?
No, you go first.
Okay, I imagine like what's the old saying goes, the first taste is free. And so just a little sousant of what you think, like, wait, is Captain America back as a general audience member? And then all of a sudden, like, no, it's U.S. Agent. And I imagine that he'll, like when Thor returned to Asgard and Ragnarok, and there's the play of Thor and Loki's life. I imagine like the costume of U.S. Agent will kind of look like that. It's going to be like Walmart Captain America, but it'll be its own. It'll have its nefarious details in there because obviously they don't want Sam to be Captain America. They want the ones who are controlling the U.S. agents to have their own plans to be their own super soldier. And obviously that's going to be the major conflict of the movie, the show. So I'm curious, like, I wonder how they're going to thread that line. I wonder how they're going to do that. And I'm just like you two. I'm like, oh, I want to see more. I want to see more. It's personally baiting me to see. I want to see what a U.S. agent is going to look like, and I imagine end of episode 1 or 2. That's when we'll get the reveal of it, and then you're like the following episode, you're like, oh, I want to see how he's going to tussle with everybody else.
Yeah, I knowing a lot about U.S. agents' history, and this leads to the next kind of little mini news piece that goes along with this, is that U.S. agent in this show is going to be proven to be more brutal than the government has bought themselves into. And even I'll even put it out there, maybe more brutal than even for Bucky. And that's going to be a big focal point of this show at some point. I think we're going to have a moment like that. And looking at some news that come up from a Reddit user, the Dutch Motion Picture System has rated Falcon and the Winter Soldier 16 plus, and the American equivalent for that is TVMA. I don't think we're going to get our first TVMA show on Disney Plus. However, I do think it's going to be probably the most kind of we've seen in a little most quote unquote violent and intense on on this first show. I mean, I'm not a Disney Plus show, but on the Disney Plus kind of network of shows and movies and things like that. So, again, we don't have Deadpool on Disney Plus yet. So it's Agents season 5 of Agents of Shield was the most highest high rating at that point, for the TV kind of MA kind of style. But I think it's for intrigue. I think it's to ask people questions. We haven't seen a face, but that's my thing. And knowing what John Walker is going to be in this show, he's going to be the government did not choose the right person.
No, who would have thunk?
I know.
No, but I agree. And yeah, I saw that going around today. There's no chance this is going to be like rated R on Disney Plus. Like that's not
it's going to toe the line.
I think it'll toe the line, but I don't even think it'll get close to like what Daredevil did and stuff like, and that's fine. I don't need it. Yeah. And I don't, yeah.
I want to see them jump in there like a couple of not only F-bombs, but what Butcher likes dropping that favorite C word at that point.
Yeah. So US agent naked on top of Avengers Tower, so we're not going to see that. So yeah, I'm excited because like, what the fun thing about this is when I saw this trailer, it's like WandaVision ends, we get 1 week, and then this starts up. It's just great, and then the same thing happens pretty much with Loki. It's great to have this stuff going on again.
Yeah, so
I'm calling it. U.S. agent decapitates somebody with the shield
on camera. Or we get that pan away at the last second.
It might be in silhouette. It might be a shadow, but like he's going to throw that shield and all of a sudden a human, not a robot, will be decapitated with the shield.
The only thing is, because there's been times where he has kind of been rehabbed and becomes a hero, right?
He does.
That's my only like not jumping on point as far as him being super brutal. I could see him being the wrong choice, making bad decisions, but I still think they're going to toe the line and he's going to be somewhat in the middle. I actually don't think he'll be as bad as you think, Chris, because I think they're going to like with Bucky, it's different because he was mind controlled. If that guy's not mind controlled and he is just like, decapitating people with shields heads off, like, okay, how does this person come back? And like, also you can say, okay, well, Loki came back. Yeah, that's one of my least favorite things of Roar Ragnarok, is that should have been like a main point. It was just kind of off the side, like, yeah, I killed a bunch of people in New York, but guess what? I'm your friend again. Okay, sure, whatever. But like, that's where I think they might. I think they'll keep him open enough because I think Zemo will still end up being like the main antagonist and whatnot.
I just think it like more brutal in the sense of he obviously not Steve. Steve, like, he'll be more extreme than Steve, but
he's gonna brand people with the American flag. Is that what he's gonna do?
No, we're not going that far.
Oh,
we're not doing that. Sorry.
Okay.
But he's gonna be one of those things like he almost sees like, I'm gonna take them down and not make it in like permanently in that sense. And because again, I believe in justice being, you break the law, you're going down hard, especially if you're a terrorist.
Yeah, like I imagine it'll be a terrorist that he's taking down that like is unarmed and defeated, and he still goes too far. Like, even though like the person he killed was a bad guy, but it's like, yeah, there's due process that you totally just violated there.
Yeah, I can see that, because then you can tell that story eventually, how he's regretful and he wants to change his ways and stuff like that. So, and like I said, maybe he won't be. Maybe by the end of the season, he just is killed off and it's like, oh, well, US agent is gone, right? I just know that, like, okay, lots of times when they're characters that have flipped over, they always like keep it open just in case, because people really like. And Riot Russell is a very talented actor. He's his dad was in the MCU. He's joining him. That's pretty fun. So I'm excited to see what he does in the role.
Yeah. So we'll see. A little over a month.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you want to take this next story, Travis? This
not really, but here we go.
You're so excited about.
All right. So the Illuminati, my favorite website with that name. The Illuminati has reported that Keanu Reeves. So earlier it was like the day before, they were talking about Craven the Hunter, and there being some casting and talking about Keanu being like involved, and then the next day they doubled down by the report actually saying that Keanu Reeves has been offered the role of Craven. So two things: one, obviously this is not like a Variety or Deadline, so easily could just be out in the wind, but Illuminati has got some things right. Two, it says offered, so that doesn't mean Keanu and his team accepted anything like that. I guess Chris, you threw to me because you wanted me to go first, and I feel like I hate this because This happened with Moon Knight. I feel like everyone thinks I hate Keanu Reeves. I don't hate
No,
Keanu
I don't
Reeves.
think that.
No, but I feel like because every time he comes up, I poo-poo his casting, and the people are like, oh, well, who like I think Keanu Reeves is, we talked about this before, Chris, is when I go to a restaurant, I expect the chef
The food
to.
references are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been taking a break for a while.
It has, but they're back. I got to set my game because, he has his puns. I got my food. So if you go to a restaurant and you order a dish, right? And let's say you get seafood, and you're like, okay, this is great. You got the shrimp, you got some nice little parsley, you got some fettuccine Alfredo. But then all of a sudden, like, here's barbecue sauce. Now, I like barbecue sauce, but I don't know if I like it in my fettuccine Alfredo from Olive Garden. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I feel like Keanu Reeves is like, he is a great flavor, but he needs to be put on the right food. He can't just go anywhere. He's not like, to me, like Christian Bale, who I still is like, he's playing the God Butcher. Like, that's still weird. But I go, Christian Bale could play a Trout. He could play anything in the world. Like, he's one of these actors, But Keanu Reeves is like, to me, he can be limited in some like very dramatic things he does. I think the best route for him is a Deadpool, a Guardians, if we're talking Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, even Ant-Man, something where he can kind of have that kind of fun schlocky, like the way he is in John Wick, where he has like a dry sense of humor, and it's like he can be almost like a little cheesy at times, like on purpose, like action hero. Where Craven, they might be doing that. If that's the case, I don't want that. I don't want them to go the Venom route where it's like, oh, Craven's really funny, and he's like. And the other thing about the dramatic acting is just, let's say they do the dramatic side. Okay. I don't think like we're going to have Keanu Reeves walk around with his Russian accent, trying to be taken serious. Like, I just feel I could go the same way as Bram Stoker's Dracula when he was like, oh, I'm here to look at, like, he can't, there's certain things he can't do. And to me, I haven't seen the pitch. I haven't read the script. Maybe he's perfect for it, but on face value and what I know of Keanu and Craven Hunter, it just is a circle being fit into a square hole. And that's where I don't think it fits. And I think that he is right for a franchise. They just got to find the right one. And Moon Knight wasn't this, and I don't think this is it either. So I still like Keanu Reeves. I'm very excited for Matrix 4. I hope they're right about it. It's called Resurgence or whatever. Resurrection. Great title. I'm happy to watch Keanu and stuff. Just don't know if it needs to be Craven.
What's your take on this, Tim?
Well, I want to know. First, I'll ask the question, Travis. What's it like to dig yourself into China? Like, I mean, that's how far you're going right there. You're digging yourself a grave like that. But no, like, and two, I want an article saying that you hate barbecue sauce. I want that as the hot take.
Oh, no.
No, I totally understand that, because when I think of Craven the Hunter, like, I don't know how much you guys are wrestling fans. I think of like somebody's like Ravishing Rick Rude.
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody who's like cut from marble to be like Craven the Hunter, and accents and Keanu have not been his strong suit. No. I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula being the prime example of it. I love that movie, but I admit his accent is the weak link in that movie. And you have Anthony Hopkins literally chewing the scenery every scene he's in, even more so than Gary Oldman, which is a feat unto itself. But like, if you want somebody, like, I think of, I don't know if anybody saw, like, if you guys saw Creed 2, the guy who played Drago's son, that guy should be Craven the Hunter, because I imagine Craven the Hunter to be a physical beast of a man right there, and somebody who could be a danger, whether he has powers or not, or has weapons or not. And I think Keanu Reeves, yeah, he in a hand-to-hand combat situation, whether it be in John Wick or even the Matrix movies, which I feel like reboot should be the tagline for, or the subtitle for the movie, because it'd be too perfect. But yeah, I don't think Keanu should be that role, because I don't think he'd be the right fit for that for Craven.
I'm glad we brought Bram Stoker's Dracula, Chris, because that's a movie that fucks. Remember, we talked about this in October, Great movie,
circle. Vicious
Go watch
circle.
it. Go watch it.
No, I mean, that's been the biggest debate. There are a number of actors and actresses that, we're wondering why, Charlize Theron, perfect for, Marvel. And I think she'd gone on record that she'd been approached for something, just not for her, just not into it at that point, but would like to do one. Since the Keanu Reeves, we've heard the stuff that he's had talks, he's had things, but nothing's been the right fit. I agree. I don't, like with everything, I just don't see it with him, like all three. So I'll go 3 for 3. I don't see it with Keanu. My vision of Craven the Hunter is someone very bombastic, some very, kind of out there. I know some Reeves portrayal is a little more grim, but I I'm open to different interpretations, but I think Craven's just very much of a out there personality. And people say, well, what about Bill and Ted? Well, I'm not talking about, that kind of bombastic kind of, yeah, exactly. There's a kind of eccentric. I have not seen, not saying again, Keanu can't stretch his acting muscle a little bit, but it would be a very, very different part for him to play. Um, I I think there are other parts out there for him, but again, I will do everything as I always point to. Look what people said about Heath Ledger's putting the jerk. Oh my God, Knight's Tale, he's gonna be there, and look what happened. So I right now on like we say on face value, I don't see it. If it ends up happening, if both sides agree to this. Now I sent you all the tweet from John O'Connell saying that the people he's talked to that are in the know have never heard of this. But like with everything, people have their sources and people are connected where they are. But the fact that not many other people, like you said, luminaries on a different tier, a Deadline and a Variety didn't pick up the story, says something that they may be hearing this, but they're not willing to go and put it out there as fact yet. Because again, this could turn into nothing. They could not come into agreement. So this may be another one of those saying, it was offered, but neither side could come to agreement. So we moved on. And the fact that it's still in this lovely acronym of the Sony Spider-Man characters of the Sony universe, yeah, whatever, screw it.
Yeah, I just think about Israel. For me, the only worry I have is what we've told Sony is they have an IP and they go, let's just attach a big star to it. Like, does he fit? It doesn't matter. Like, Keanu's big, people love him.
He can play Jackpot. That's what he can do.
There you go. And then
he can be in the Jackpot movie. Jackpot still needs to be played by the correct person, but he can be in the Jackpot movie.
Great. Sign me up. Can't wait for it.
Like, since Keanu had the idea of Keanu playing Craven, I'm just imagining him as from Bill and Ted or Point Break. Whoa, he's swinging from building to building. I gotta take him down. I gotta mount him on my wall. That was a terrible Keanu impression. I apologize.
No, I think it was pretty good.
So yeah, like I won't say it will be laughed out of the theater. I don't think it'll be like that, but like there are other actors I think just more appropriate for it, and so I just feel like
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. Well, technically he's already part of the Marvel universe, but then again,
this is the Sony Marvel universe, Tim. They're separate,
Yeah, and I have a tumor developing as the same name as their acronym, so it's okay.
I always thought Joe Manganiello was good until he got Deathstroke, but I always liked that pick as well. As far as like he has that look, he's cut and everything like that. I'm not saying he can't do both. I'm just saying it. People are hoping that he does more in the DC universe and maybe he'll be busy at some point. So, but yeah, we'll see. Like we said, the story at the end of the day is offered. Might not even happen. Like even if they were right, might go to some other guy. So
yeah, exactly. So we got kind of two back-to-back stories coming from Don Cheadle. This was until the trailer. This was going to be most likely some of our lead at that point. Don Cheadle just very open and honest about some stuff. I think he's pulling a Ruffalo and releasing some information that we weren't expecting. He teases the plot to not only Armor Wars, which we'll get in a second, but he announces that he is going to appear in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so he says like it's a really fun and interesting and all the imagination completely open-ended that can go anywhere. It's great. I can't wait to get into the room with the writers and figure all that stuff out. Rhodey shows up in the Winter Soldier and Falcon, so it's going to be a lot. So we don't know if it's just going to be for an episode, a quick cameo, something like that. But that was something that I was not expecting. One, just to be out there. If we all remember Don Cheadle trying to stop Mark Ruffalo from when he basically said, oh yeah, everyone's dying in Infinity War. At that point, everyone dies, and he just gives him that look. It's like, dude, shut up. So maybe Kevin Feige had that reaction, like, what the heck? But then he goes into, talking about, some of the plot of Armor Wars, saying, where we've been with the sort of progress with Rhodey, and even the last form where he's gone up again, and now he's walking again, and he's now mobile again, as technology continues to develop, and we keep making innovations in the suit. And what happens? I imagine there's going to be another elevation in another way, and that we're going to keep digging into that part of Rhodey. but really figuring out a way to bridge what's happening in the comic books with what's happening in the screen and MCU is how we're going to really make worlds work. That's really exciting. It's going to be interesting because, again, this storyline in the comics was Tony's story about his armor getting into the hands of the villains. So it's going to be very interesting to see this from Rhodey's perspective at that point. So I'm definitely excited about it. I love what Rhodey's character has done in this series, and I love he gets finally a moment to shine with his own show.
What do you think, Tim?
I'm all for this, and I just imagine, like he said, I can't wait to get into the writers' room. Like, is he going to show up to the writers' room in the armor, like just to be safe? Like, that's how he's going to be socially distant. That's his mask. He's like, yeah. Her Don Shield's going to be here. Clank, 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 clank. I think he's here. No, I'm all for this because it's something that, like, it sucks that it takes the death of the character of Iron Man for War Machine to really shine. But I'm kind of glad they're not going to let that opportunity goes by the wayside, and I'm curious to see what he's going to play into both Falcon and the Winter Soldier and what his story will be like in his own series. I am like, if you told me this at the end of Endgame, like, no, I'm fine, but just knowing where the world is now, I'm like, yes, more distractions from the real world I need. So yeah, I'm all for this. Sign me up.
Yeah, it is a bummer that, like, he said the thing about Falcon Winter Soldier, because I'm just going to assume from what we've seen from marketing that I feel like his appearance is either like an end credit stinger or to set something up. Like when he's talking about a villain getting his hand, like the plot of Armor Wars, that a villain gets their hands on Tony Stark's gear, right? We could meet said villain in Falcon Winter Soldier. Doesn't mean they're a main villain, just like alluding to, oh, there's this thing happening. They go talk to Rhodey. So was a little disappointed, and I'm sure if it was supposed to be a secret, I'm sure he got a phone call being like, hey, just a reminder, I know it's been a while, Endgame was 2019, but you just gotta be a little quiet, you just want to, because I do want to, obviously it might have already leaked, but still I like to be surprised, but it's fine, it's not a big deal. And two, I'm excited for the show. I loved a couple weeks ago when he's like, it'll deal directly with the death of Tony Stark. It's like, okay, no duh, thank you for that one. I was I wondered if you even mentioned
wait a minute,
Tony
that's late breaking news there. It's gonna deal with the death of Tony Stark.
Yeah,
wow.
It's just so funny when they can't say, like, also we'll talk about Spider-Man and Tom Holland, just be like, I don't know anything about this film. It's like, okay, sir, that's fine. But yeah, I'm excited for this because I'm somebody that I like Don Cheadle a lot. I did prefer Terrence Howard, and I want to really love Don Cheadle. I love Don Cheadle a lot in the Avengers Age of Ultron dinner scene. I do like him, but I think this is a chance to really flesh him out, where I feel like he was in Iron Man 3, and then after that he's gonna, like, I don't want to say an afterthought, but he's been very to the side in Civil War, in Infinity War, Endgame. Like, to me, he could have been used a bit more, and I like that. Hopefully we use him here, and then we use him a bit more in the future, because there's been rumors he might even be in Secret Invasion and pop up there and stuff like that. So I would like to see him more and invest in him more. So I'm all for it.
That's the huge cameo that's the Luke Skywalker cameo we're waiting for. It's Terrence Howard as Rhodey. That's the multiverse of madness right there. That's what we bring back.
Next time, baby. Next time.
I'd be so excited. Yeah, I would be so excited. That would be great. But yeah, I don't think so. It didn't sound like they had a great working relationship after that. So
yeah.
Who would you rather have if they came to you and they said, "Okay, Multiverse Madness, we're going to get one, Terrence Howard, Edward Norton. Which one would you rather see?"
Ooh. I go with Terrence Howard.
Yeah, I feel like, because I feel like Terrence Howard would say yes. I think Edward Norton would say no.
Because he'd want to dictate the entire script at that point and control everything about, like, what is said, and turn it into something completely, like, Feige's going to go, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, like seeing the movie Birdman, his character in that being very much like how Edward Norton is in real life. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, I understand why they went separate ways. I mean, like, if anything, I wanted to try to bring back a filmmaker that kind of fell out with Marvel, whether it be Patty Jenkins or Edgar Wright. I don't think Scott Derrickson's coming back anytime soon.
No, I don't.
No, so unfortunately.
No, I'd probably go Howard as well. Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get our wish. Fingers crossed. All right, so we get some moves on Blade. I think we were, Travis and I, we knew the movements have been happening with Blade for a while, and so we were, usually it seems to how it goes. We get our showrunners before we get our directors and some more casting. So it sounds like we're moving in that right direction. But Hollywood Reporter broke the story that Marvel's Blade movie finds in the writer the Watchmen scribe. Marvel Studios Blade, the Vampire Slayer. That's the first time we've seen that kind of as a title unofficially at that of Blade, the Vampire Slayer, has found its writer. I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize at that point. Stacy Osai Kuffour. I think I maybe did okay on that one.
Pretty good.
You did better than I like me trying to pronounce it.
Playwright who acted as the story editor and writer of the acclaimed limited series Watchmen. Yes, it is an outstanding show. Has been tapped to pen the script for the feature project that reboots Marvel's Vampire Hunter. Marvel, of course, as always, does not confirm. As we know, Mahershala Ali is our new Blade at that point, our Daywalker. And interesting about this is that Marvel has spent the last 6 months in meeting with writers in what was described as a meticulous search for which Ali was directly involved. No surprise there. He's a 2-time Oscar winner at that point. He should be involved. Only Black writers were seriously considered, a reflection on Marvel's focus on diversity and making representation a key factor. It's also a reflection on how representation, at least at Disney and Marvel, is a high importance when tackling non-white characters. David Goyer wrote the 3 original Blade movies for New Line Cinemas, which were released in 1998 and 2004 and starred Wesley Snipes. Now there's a legacy casting I could see them possibly putting in this film just as a tip of the hat. I mean, she's coming from Watchmen. She's got I'm not sure if it was because I think they talked about this on Fat Man Beyond at that point, was it she has an Emmy to her name in the sense of I don't know if it was the episode that she wrote, but definitely as they award certain awards in their categories, she is part of that writing team that is the Emmy award-winning team that did Watchmen at that point, or Golden Globe or whatever you have, big award at that point. That's the pedigree. I'm completely fine with them doing a search because it is an African American character at that point. So I'm fine with that. I think that's good on them. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think that they're trying again. Hollywood's trying to fix what's been wrong a while, and good that they're going down this path at that point. I think her bringing not only an African American but also a female to write this is going to be very interesting within itself. I can't wait to see her take on this.
Yeah, for me, like I said before, barring the, Spider-Man crossover, the Century, Blade's my most anticipated Marvel movie right now, just because that casting is just so good. And this still makes me have a suspicion. I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, that I still wonder if there was ever even a Blade movie happening until Mahershala and Kevin Feige met, because that's how it went down. If Kevin Feige, he's told us, they're like, oh, they took a meeting with Mahershala, and Mahershala's like, I want to play Blade. And then he said, oh, well, when you get 2-time Oscar winner, blah, 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 that's what you do. And I've said this before, I could easily make the case that Ollie's the best actor going around right now. He is so talented. He's so versatile. He's phenomenal. So to me, this kind of adds more to that and that was the word too, that he was quite involved with this process of picking the writer. This sounds very much like what they do at Downey, what Ryan Reynolds would do at Deadpool over there. That didn't happen to me with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. That didn't happen with Chris Hemsworth and Thor. But the fact that he's in these meetings, whatnot, meeting these people, meeting different writers, men, women, whoever they may be, that to me shows like this is a real, I wouldn't even be surprised if he has a producer credit by the time we get this film.
Oh, guaranteed. He's got, I think that's a guarantee.
Yeah, but not even exec producer, producer. Yeah. I think that he is steerheading this, and I've said this before. I think they will go with a Black person for a director as well. I think that's the case they're going to go, because I've seen so many people throw a different direction. I just don't. I think Ali wants to go a certain route with this, and I saw the name, didn't know her. The second I read the article and wrote Watchmen, I'm done. Because same way, like Ali, Watchmen, I could make the case for is the greatest superhero show of all time. And yeah, it's only a 10 episode or 9 episode, whatever. But that show there's not a single ounce of fat I would trim off that show. It's perfect, great performances, everything. So if someone is involved in that, they got my tip of the hat. So this was just nothing but good news for me. Now I'm looking at my chops to see a director. I'm very excited to see who the director is going to be. And I think that's it's going to be very intriguing who they all pick.
Yeah, I'm all for this. And the fact that, yeah, that she was involved with Watchmen. And like, I love how the article says, like, this is not overnight success. She's been writing for years. But like, I love how Hollywood's always like, overnight success with Watchmen. I'm like, no, she's been grinding for years. And she's obviously earned this point here. And just judging by the quality of Watchmen, like, yeah, of course you want her to be involved with the Blade movie. And like, the only like potential issue I have is that like with Ali being so involved with this, like you get a director who is just there as a like that she like whomever the director is, that like whatever decision they make is always going to be second guessed by the star and everything. I just hope like it is a copacetic relationship between there. It's not like, yeah, like the director shows up like, I want to do this, and Ali's like, no, we're doing this, and like we're doing this. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen like that. But regardless, I'm more and more intrigued by every little bit of news that comes out from this movie, because I became a fan of the Blade character because of the Wesley Snipes movie, and movies, I should say. Only two exist. I'm surprised they never made a third one. It's really weird like that. And I know like if I have to be censored, I realize that, but like just the line, like some motherfuckers always try to skate uphill, is one of the greatest lines in the world.
Yes, so good.
And like if legacy casting's a thing, bring back Wesley, please.
I don't know. I'm always partial to Ryan Reynolds' line of what the curse words as he calls the female vampire at that point. That's too dirty for me to even say on this show on air. So
according to Tim, he's never seen Ryan Reynolds in a Blade movie, so he wouldn't.
I know, according to them, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. When Triple H still had long hair, was in that apparently that fictitious movie and
Oh,
everything.
don't even bring up Triple H. Oh my God, I remember being indicted with ads while I'm watching.
Oh yeah.
That whole, like, I know Tim's, having some fun, but honestly, that whole movie is a disaster. Parker Posey is just trying to win a Razzie. Like, she's trying her very best.
And I love Parker Posey, but like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just, and then like when you hear what after, like Snipes was unhappy with the script, so he would like lock himself in the trailer and wouldn't come out. Like that just sounds like all around. It was just a terrible, terrible production.
Blade paycheck.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was gonna say with the director.
Tax free.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point, Tim.
Good one, nice one.
You bring up a good point, because there was a big conversation this week as far as they released this video about this previs thing, right? And there's this big debate of like, well, what do directors do? Do they just come in and sit there and just, complete shots already done? And then Jim's gonna be like, well, some directors might, some don't. But that's why my sneaking suspicion is I don't even know if it's gonna be someone that he's worked with previously, but I think he will pick someone that he has a creative relationship with, that will not be, hey, just come in and do this. It'll be like, I trust this person, man or female, to direct this movie and to have a good relationship, like coexisting, like bouncing off each other. That's what I'm hoping. I hope when we get that, I would love it if it was someone that had directed him in something or worked with him already. And then you go, okay, maybe they have a dialogue and a history to show, okay, they got good working juices. I don't know. So, but I agree with you. You don't want that. You don't want him just to boss everyone around.
Yeah, and stuff I've heard in interviews and people that have worked with him has said he's amazing to work with on set. He is a true craftsman at that point. But, being a two-time Oscar winner, Feige's not necessarily one to, just go along with someone if he doesn't feel like he can also play ball too and have a meeting of the minds that you're our star. We are more than happy to have influence and pick someone to have the same mindset. So yeah, but again, going back to the writer, she was one of the story editors on Hunters, the Amazon series with Al Pacino of Nazi Hunters, 1970s, and then also worked on the HBO crime thriller Run at that point. So like we said, she's been doing this for a while. So she's, this is probably, again, she keeps on raising the stakes more and more of what she's going to be moving on to next.
What was the date? Was that Run like 2019 or 2020?
No date on that one. I apologize. Okay. Starred Domhnall Gleeson. Yeah,
that one's not as positive for me. So I'll just think about The Watchmen. It's
probably again HBO. So
yes, yeah. Hines said Blade would just leave post-it notes everywhere signed Blade instead of Wesley Snipes. So
Ooh.
yeah, like it should like
Ooh.
I like Wesley enough, but he definitely drunk. Even if you look up his past, dude, he's been a questionable character. So I don't think we'll get a legacy casting. I really don't. I think
Aw.
no, I don't think so. I think there's just some things in this era they don't want to touch, and I think he
Next
will.
time, baby.
Hey, he's gonna be in Coming America too, isn't he? So there you go.
He is.
You can catch
He's
him in
making a
March.
comeback. I'm looking forward to that.
If people have not seen Dolomite Is My Name that came out in 2019, that was my favorite movie of that year for so many reasons. And one of the biggest contributing factors was Wesley Snipes kicking major ass in that movie. I love how you say, Chris, saying like raising the stakes on this Blade project, and I'm like, really? I didn't stoop that low to make that joke, sir.
I actually didn't catch that one, but yeah, that was completely. Believe it all you want, that was completely unintentional. That was that one
That's
was
how good
just,
Tim is. He just seeks them out even when you didn't even mean
I
to.
know.
All
right, so we got
final
some
story here.
Last two quick hits at this point. Just two quick hits. We just on the off chance that we don't have any more Spider-Man rumors, Geeks Worldwide helped confirm what Travis's favorite site, the Illuminati, reported back in December that Willem Dafoe is in talks to reprise his role in the Spider-Man 3 movie. Their sources have told them that, and it's the same sources that have told them that Alfred Molina's involvement in reprising his role as Doc Ock, he has reported to set to film his scenes for Spider-Man 3. And remember, there was no Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire on set, according to Tom Holland.
Or they're hiding it from. That's great. I love Willem Dafoe. I think that's a top 10 comic book villain performance. So sign me up. I love as much as Willem Dafoe can get, and I hope to see him in this movie, and it sounds like we will. I just wish that publicists would tell interviewers to not ask certain questions, because now we have this whole debate about Tom. Like, is he lying? Why would he lie? Like, should actors lie? It's just like, oh my God. And just such a tiresome thing. I just wish the publicists would say nothing about Spider-Man. You can ask him, are you excited for Spider-Man? That's it. Because it's just like this revolving door of just like, he's going to say something. Because even then, like, it's so funny. He said something where he's like, yeah, if they're in there, they hit it for me. I don't know. But then another quote was like, I've been filming for 8 weeks and I don't even know what's going on in this movie. So it's like, what?
It sounds like an idiot.
So like, that's what I mean. Like, they just make him sound that, or it's just like he says, yeah, they're not in this movie. But then later on in another interview, he says, I have no idea what's going on in this movie. So it's like, okay, so I'm
Benedict Cumberbatch isn't Khan. Just remember that.
Well, no, of course not. But and Christoph Waltz wasn't Blofeld either, stuff like that. I'm excited. I all the stuff is I'm waiting for the trailers, the posters. I think because some rumors last week, I think what's really making them wait on this is there's been rumors that, no surprise, that Toby's playing hardball, which if you know anything about him, he's going to play as hardball as possible. That's a guy that likes his money and likes to play the game. But unfortunately, I know Katie's going to hate this because Katie is not a Tobey Maguire fan, but whatever the man wants, you got to pay him, because if this movie comes out and theaters are open and stuff like that, he would add multiple 100 million box offices, like money onto the box office. Garfield's great. The other villains are great. But if you have Toby on the poster, Toby in the previews, that adds more VOD, whatever it is, subscriptions. So it's one of these, whatever he wants, you kind of got to pay him. But I'm excited to see them all back. Tim, you were shaking your head though when he was talking about Willem Dafoe.
Like, I'm surprised the three of us have not been cast in Spider-Man 3 at this point. I mean,
Tim, I can't comment on that. Actually, I can't. I'm not allowed to publicly say anything. I'm sorry, but I'm excited for Spider-Man.
I'm going to break my NDA and just say that I am playing a very important part.
Uncle
Ben.
That's
all I'm allowed to say.
Uncle Ben.
I said I can't say there.
I still say
I'm playing the briefcase.
Reveal your secrets. For Uncle Ben, I've always said, after the success of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, bring back Nicholas Hammond as Uncle Ben, because he played Spider-Man in the 70s. Might as well at this point. I feel like I'm all for Willem Dafoe coming back, but I just wonder, like, if all these rumors come to pass, like, is this just too much? Remember when Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 has so many extra villains in there, and what happened? It crumbled under its own pressure. I hope it doesn't like that. I hope if it is true that they're just cameos and we have Willem Dafoe scream at the screen, "Avenge me!" And it's like, wait, wrong universe, and he pisses off to his own corner of the Marvel world if he really wants to. But like, and when Tom Holland's like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm feeling right now," I just go back to the Rollins song, the Rollins band, "Liar." Like, yeah, no, you're just lying. I don't. Yeah. I'm not going to believe anything you say right now because the Russo brothers lied enormously in all the movies they've made and everything. And Tom Holland, even though he's kind of had loose lips, sink ships kind of attitude with all the details of past previous movies, yeah, he totally knows who's involved, and he's totally not going to say. I mean, at this point, he shouldn't be saying anything, and I want to be surprised.
I think there's still some surprise. I think it's unfortunate we've gotten as much as we have, but I still think there's a few surprises that I'm hoping that they hold off, but we'll see. Us.
Yeah, Marvel Alliance viewers are going to love it.
All right, our last one. WandaVision, Kat Dennings reveals that she has more Marvel appearances after Disney Plus show. She was talking about extra TV, and she stated that there are some things have done for Marvel that are coming out that are not WandaVision. I probably can't say. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Yeah. But she has gone on record that right now she's not reporting to Thor: Love and Thunder. So which is kind of unfortunate, because Natalie Portman, her best friend, is going to be one of the main parts of that as being the mighty Thor. But it begs the question, like, okay, so where else could she be leading from this? Could it be, she's done some things for Marvel, so that sounds to me that things are in the can or in process at that point. I could easily see Captain Marvel 2 or Miss Marvel, things like that, because I have a working theory that as a result of this is how we get our new Inhumans into the world. So because she is in New Jersey. She is in Jersey.
Yeah. I think she, as we've seen, like Jimmy Woo appeared in this show. I think she could be anywhere. Maybe she's even in Loki if he's traveling alternate realities, right? And she's in Thor. Like,
so Loki, you're right. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, like she could be in Falcon and Winter Soldier with Don Cheadle. She could be in Blade. Like, that's a good thing that I think one of the best things they've done with the MCU is they've made it believable for almost that. Once they got past that first phase of Captain America, Man Frozen, Iron Man, the scientist and philanthropist, Hulk the monster, and Thor the alien/god all got together and made sense. Darcy's going to make sense wherever she goes. So it's so funny, like you said, not Thor: Love and Thunder, but that kind of makes sense. It sounds like they might be kind of going around the world, but I still wonder if there's time for her to play. And even then, maybe she's just lying about that too. Like Tim just talked about, like Tom Holland, that would be the natural, like, are you in Thor: Love and Thunder? Like, oh no, I'm not. And then when she pops up, it's like, oh, that's fun, because maybe Jane goes and visits her or something like that, So I think it could be anywhere, and I'm happy. I know some people don't like her humor in some of these movies, but I think one, she's still toning it down a little bit in WandaVision, but two, I still like Kat Dennings, so sure, sign me up.
I mean, Kat Dennings being a celebrity crush of mine, like the more Kat Dennings, the better. And that's why I was so happy for her to show up in WandaVision. And I want her to question, where's Meow Meow, referring to Mjolnir. And then she's like, why do you have this giant axe? I want her to show up in Thor: Love and Thunder. But even if she doesn't, I'm all there for it. And as a New Yorker, I can see Inhumans coming out of New Jersey.
I like it. There we go. So there's the news,
New Jersey listeners.
So there's the news, folks. So we'll probably take our next ad break before we start kind of winding down with listener Factor Fictions and Comic Book Corner.
Yes, we're going to do just what Chris said, and we'll be right back. And we're back. I'm going to pull up the Factor Fictions, some results or anything like that.
Got 4 of them.
Four of them.
Brent dropped a surprise one on us last week.
From out of nowhere, as they say about the Legend Killer. I have to ask you, Tim, do you or have you in the past watched wrestling?
I have watched a little bit of it here and there. I like wrestling history. I like the history of it, the idea from the Carney days of the territories to what we have now with the slow death of WWE, despite Peacock giving him billions of dollars and AEW being strange to say the
I
least.
saw you throw some slander out the other day. So that was the first time I saw wrestling on your timeline. Then you shared other things like, oh, he might be one of me. But yeah, no, I like AEW, but I understand there's some stuff in there, you know.
Like it's somebody's described it, it's schizophrenic because you have things that are trying to be taken seriously, but then you have the Young Bucks being the Young Bucks, and I'm just like, I can't. One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's your wrestle talk for anybody out there. Brent's Fact or Fiction. We will see the Jameson broadcast from Far From Home, where he puts out Peter as Spider-Man in another MCU project. Fact 77%, fiction 23%. Tim, where are you on that? Do you think you'll see that broadcast in another MCU project?
I'd say yes. I'd say we would see that in another MCU project. Where I'm not sure, but I think it'd be remiss not to reference it again.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I don't know if we've had this before, Chris. Maybe I'm wrong. I always say this, but Deadpool 3 will have more than 2 characters from the original first 2 films. Fact, 100%. Fiction, 0%. I think
we've had a few.
Have we had a few? I mean,
I wouldn't say 5. I'd think probably, maybe
is it
1,
more than
2, or
2
3.
like this question? But yeah, what about you, Tim? They've announced they're doing Deadpool 3. It's supposedly in the MCU. It's gonna be rated R with those original characters. Vanessa, Colossus, Teenage Negasonic Warhead. Like, we're gonna see more than 2.
More than 2, yes, because he's got 3 sidekicks at least, and I think it'd be. I think it's like, I'm not a big fan of Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 like really broke my heart because especially how much I love the first one. Wow. I know it's a hot take. Like, I was literally in the theater, arms crossed, like halfway through the movie, and I'm like, I was legitimately pissed at that movie, and one of the big reasons was not having enough Negasonic Teenage Warhead in there. I feel like she brought so much humor to the first one, and not to have her and Colossus Vanessa's in the third Deadpool movie, I think would be a shame.
You forgot Depender.
Depender has to come back. That's my guy. I just want to know the adventures of his life. Like when he's talking about Deadpool about dating, and he like accidentally recommends him to like lock the guy up in a trunk and stuff. Like, there's some good stuff in there. Fact or fiction? Hugh Jackman will appear in Deadpool 3, so it doesn't have to be Wolverine or Logan. Just Hugh Jackman will appear. Fact 58%, 42%. Fiction, closer than I thought, to be honest. But Tim, where are you on this one? Because I think Chris, and Brent were all fact on this. We think one way or another it'll happen. Would you agree with that?
I mean, if the multiverse is in play, then fact, because it could just be Hugh Jackman and Deadpool says, Hugh Jackman, oh my God, you're Hugh Jackman, like you're Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman's like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's in the middle of a gunfight and Hugh Jackman's head gets blown up accidentally. And it's like,
that'd be
wow.
So good. Yeah.
Like he's literally, and Deadpool's covered in the entrails of Hugh Jackman. He's like, oh, I got to save this and be really weird about it.
No, I agree with what you're putting down there. I want that type of fun cameo. And then maybe you're referring to this too, Chris, because I usually don't look at results live, because this next one was also 100% as well. Ghost Rider.
I didn't. So maybe that's our third.
Yeah. Ghost Rider's MCU debut will not be in a solo project. So he's going to appear in some team up, some crossover, something like that. Fact, 100%. Fiction, 0%. So no one thinks the Rider is getting a solo project. I think that might just be because of like the past films and that they like to rehab characters, right? You think of Spider-Man. Lots of people thought that with Fantastic Four. So would you agree, Tim, with our listeners that Ghost Rider will not be getting a solo project first?
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed Nicolas Cage movies, I think it burned the bridge of any solo movies for the time being. So yeah, I think him showing up out of the desert, all of a sudden riding a motorcycle, and people wondering like, what the hell is that? I think would be the best idea going forward.
Well, I don't know, Travis, what do you think Taylor would say?
Well, he's so convinced that it's going to be WandaVision. He thinks WandaVision or Doctor Strange because the deal.
Would he cheat his way into getting Ghost Rider?
Oh, yeah, everyone check out February 27th. He's going on trial because he rigged some of our Facebook polls. It's a whole long story. You don't want to know it, Tim. I podcast with this man Taylor. He's just the scum of the human earth. It's just like he's done many things. He's hit me with a car before. Terrible man. So,
and you continue to interact with this person.
Contracts. We signed a 20-year contract, so we're together for Kiefer's 20 years, and somehow I've been roped into it. Podcasting is a funny game, ladies and gentlemen.
Shame.
Yeah. So Chris, it is your turn this week. What are your fact or fictions?
Yeah, all right. For my first one, we will see at least two members of what will become known as Marvel's first family, the Fantastic Four, introduced in another MCU property before their own movie.
Two. That's the hang up there. Because one, I'd say fact, but two.
Yeah, we can't make it that easy.
Oh, I know, I know. If you have an answer, Tim, you can go. I'm still pondering.
Because I think one, you can you can see it, but introducing all four, you'd be like, that's a little ham-fisted or something like that. So I think two is the right number to introduce. And I think that'd be the right decision. Like, yeah, I could see that happening in a future project.
I'm just trying to figure out in my head canon in the MCU, are Reed and Sue going to be married? Because if they're married, I would say fact, because I feel like you just bring them in right away and they're together. But if they want to lead up to that, play with it a little bit.
Dating.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
their wedding was one of the biggest events in comics.
Oh, well, of course. And let's get that in the movies going, right? So, I'll, because I'm hung up on, because I am starting to buy the theory that people are throwing out that it's going to be Ant-Man and Wasp, because Peyton Reed's directing it. There's this lineage there of him wanting to direct them. That would make sense. There's ties with those characters, with the quantum realm, stuff like that. So it's just a question of is it just Reed, or is it Reed and Sue, or is it I agree with Tim. It's not going to be here's all four of the, I would say even
walking triumphantly into the
yeah, no, Johnny's on thousands of dates somewhere. He's too busy to be hanging out with Hank Pym right now. He's not going to want to be there until he's a fire dude. So you said
it's
the
to make up for 5 years of not being allowed to get any. I bet he was blipped.
Oh, so you said debut, right?
Yeah, debut. I didn't say they had to be together. I said we will see at least two members debut before they're solo.
Okay. I'll say fact. I'll say fact because if you put it that way,
this is going to be that tough. I'm surprised.
Well, I take them serious. I gotta have a hashtag Travis told you moment. So if I'm wrong, someone's gonna throw this in my face. But no, it's just when you said not in the same film, then I could see, okay, maybe
I give you that purview. It doesn't have to be.
So. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't have to be. So then I'll say fact is potential, but I still think there's a chance Reed is just an Ant-Man and the Wasp, or Ant-Man and the Wasp and the what the heck is the Quantum Mania, and then we meet everybody else. But I'll say fact.
Okay. Justin Hammer will be making his triumphant return. Sam Rockwell will be reprising his role as Justin Hammer as the main villain of Armor Wars.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. I thought you were just gonna ask if he's coming back. Ooh.
No, I want to throw some little spice onto there because I love me some Sam Rockwell, and I think he was awesome as that character.
It's a crime they haven't brought him back. Since then, he's won an Academy Award. They haven't even more reason to bring him back. I will say fiction because I think he's going to be a member of the Thunderbolts. I think the Thunderbolts is going to need a little comedic relief. They're going to need a tech guy, and I think
a bad tech guy at that.
He is, but maybe he's working on his game in prison. I don't know how that's possible, but I will say fiction because he could be in Armor Wars, but I don't know if he'd be the main villain either, or even one of the main villains. I think Thunderbolts is where he's going to go because if we look at the potential lineup for Thunderbolts so far, Taskmaster, Ghost, not really comedic characters. I could see him being in there as the comedic relief for that show. So I'm going to say fiction, but I don't care. Just bring him back. He's so enjoyable. I love Justin Hammer. When he does that little dance coming out at the Stark Expo. Yeah, love him.
I mean, it's not a Sam Rockwell performance unless he's dancing, at least somewhere in there. And I want him to moonwalk silhouetted back into the MCU. And I'm going to say fact on this. But also, I love to see him in the same prison in that short film we saw Ben Kingsley being kidnapped by the real Mandarin that nobody seems to remember that this thing was on a DVD once. But I would say fact that he will be in Armor Wars.
Do you think this isn't a fact or fiction? Do you think they'll refer to that all in Shang-Chi?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think they will in an off very 5 second you could miss it of oh, people have imposed as me and I've punished them for I think while he's dialoguing or monologuing, I could see him slipping it in. I think there because there's every once in a while MCU does it oh, they remembered they did this so.
See, I'll take a little bit of fiction on this one. I think he'll be in it, but I don't think he's going to be the main villain. I think we're going to get someone new, but I think a way to introduce our new villain is through Justin Hammer.
I forgot you switched back that, so I thought you were talking about Ben Kingsley being in Shang-Chi. I was like, wow, that is
no.
when you're like, I don't think he'll be the main villain. I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think so either, Chris.
I was gonna say like fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you. But I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, no.
I remember that first screening. I'm in my college town and we've seen Iron Man 3, and then when that reveal happens, I could tell the entire room with the theater just like collectively looked to the side of each other like, what? Like, there was a genuine confusion. Like, I hope he's like a manservant to the real Shang-Chi. Like, that's his penance for being imposter.
The Mandarin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have the way the comics portrayed the Mandarin. That's a little, let's just strike. It's just plain racist.
Oh yeah,
it's not even a little. It's racist. All right, so I had two, but I kind of hinted at this one, so I'm going to bypass it at that point. This one, Charlie Cox as Daredevil will receive his own solo movie in Phase 5.
Charlie Cox, will it be? I'm wondering. Fiction. I'll say fiction for now. Because it sounds weird, but I still think he could be a team up guy for a little bit. The same. I picture Ghost Rider and him the same way Hulk was used for a while, as put him full, like we hear rumors of him being in Spider-Man 3, but Spider-Man 4, like he's a bigger player. Put him in a different, I don't know, team up. Maybe there is Midnight Suns where we talk about, which is like he's not supernatural, but it's the movies to the comic books. They can change some stuff up. So. Phase, and especially because like I know this sounds bad and like I know they've done this before, but I don't know. I want Cox back, but I don't know if he's still big enough star for them yet to trust him to put in their own film. But they could spruce it up and put a bunch of other big stars. I know the MCU does that. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy; they didn't have many big stars either. Even then, they still sprinkle them on the side. I'll say no. I'll say fiction.
I will say fact because I think it would be easier to get a Daredevil movie than a Punisher movie in the near future. So, and I think people want to see him. I think all the characters of the Marvel Netflix shows, I think his show had the most worldwide praise and almost like resounding praise. Even like season 2 had his detractors said like, yeah, it's like had its problems, but like Charlie Cox was always the bright shining light of all of them. And as much as people who do enjoy Iron Fist, I don't think people say like, I don't think we need an Iron Fist movie or another Iron Fist show, but people are clamoring for a Daredevil movie. And if they're going to go with Charlie Cox, I think it would be remiss not to have his own movie in the future.
Yeah. My heart wants it. I could see him being more into, like you said, with an intro with a Moon Knight or something like that. But you know what? Sure, I'm gonna go fact because I want it back and I want it. I'm gonna go with my heart on this one.
There you go. Hopefully, we get some Evanescence songs in it.
I quite enjoyed those songs.
I did too.
It would wake me up, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Oh boy.
Well, there we go. I will tweet those out this week and let us know. And if you guys have some, please let us know as always. And it's always fun to see. Let's see if we get any more 100% this week because we got 2 this week. That's unprecedented. Getting 2 in the same week. I know that's the first time. So
yeah, that definitely is a first. But we're about to head in Comic Book Corner. I don't know if Tim, you want to stick around or are you gonna head off to head off through the sunset?
I'll just stick around for conversation. I may not be able to add anything, but I'm enjoying your company.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. All right, so Vision number 10. Mm-hmm. As I said last week, this is my probably favorite cover of the entire series with the lineage tree.
Yeah, because isn't that the printout for the graphic novel as well when they put it all together?
This is definitely on the cover of my hardbound. Yeah.
So it's just such a depressing series in like a good way, but like like everyone like this issue particularly was just it's so like kind of tough to get through, especially there's this one moment, and I'm jumping to the middle, but I think it just simplifies this entire issue where it's just the Synthoid trying to deal with the loss of his son. And then he takes out his synthetic eye and he puts it on the dashboard of like, or whatever, the cupboard of his bedroom. And then it plays a video of his son. And I remember the first time reading that, like choking up and just like, man, this is awful stuff in a good way, very well written. But just like, it reminds me a lot of, if anyone's ever watched 6 Feet Under, of that type of show where it's like, you're always crying, but it's, they're doing it in a well way and it's well written and it makes sense. And it's just funny to see Vision, who has lost things before, but really deal with loss he never has before.
Yeah, especially when he reflects on the moment. It's just not only heartbreaking that his son is no longer, his son is dead, but that you hear the recording and he says like, "Vin, I'm on the call with the Avengers right now," and his son continues to do it. And he said, "Dad, what did you think?" I didn't. I'm sorry, I couldn't listen. I told you I was on the phone. Like he missed. That's like every parent's like worst thing. Like you can't. It's just like, oh my God. He realized that moment, and especially like when he at the beginning of the story where he's just saying, "I'm trying to understand. My brother is still alive. He killed my son. My son is dead. His killer is alive." That it does not. Basically, it does not compute. That is wrong.
Tim, like I was seeing him track that in his mind of like, that was good. Yeah. That's the most interesting thing in this is you can tell like he almost has like a human nature now. He wants to do something, and he was hinting at his wife. Like what he's hinting at his wife is either the word revenge or vengeance. Says like he wants to do everything, but he won't say the word. And then he just goes, no, like the Avengers will figure it out. I'll figure it out, everything like that. But I think that recording is what sets him over the edge to leave his room. And because he's so far, like you could tell he wants to take vengeance on his brother for doing this, mistake or not, he wants to because he feels it's not right. But he's trying to tell himself the whole time, no, don't do that. I'm an Avenger. I'm this, I'm that. I have a standard to uphold. But at the end, when he plays that recording, that is the snap. Like, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to go out there and exact vengeance. And that's putting him again. We've seen this whole series of like, it's funny talking about WandaVision, the show, and talking about, oh, is Wanda a bad guy? Is she becoming more villain? And that's what this series does as well, where it's like Vision on that aspect of he does a few things early on. You're like, okay, I can understand as a father. I can understand as a person trying to help other people, but eventually it goes too far. And that's kind of Vision again, where it's just, you don't want him to leave that house because bad things will arise because Tony Stark literally says we're going to send everybody after him. Everybody. Yeah. It's just like for the sake of the family, they need you more and just stay in the home. But vengeance is a powerful thing, even for a robot.
Yeah, especially to catch that little Easter egg from this week's WandaVision. At that point, the little panel of Sparky eating the flower. So I have a feeling we're not going to see too much of Sparky anymore, just like in the show when he ate the azalea bushes. So
yeah, life imitating art. But
it's you're right. This is a very depressing particular because again, Finn's gone. Like he's not coming back. Unlike when they were trying to save his daughter at that point, and the daughter was praying and saying like, "I don't believe there's a God, but I'm going to pray that if there is a God, I'm going to pray if Vin had a soul that he is at rest." Like she's trying to rationalize. It's interesting how close they're trying to be human.
Yes,
and that they're trying to find some rationality, trying to find some peace in this. And right now, the only peace that Vision can find is like vengeance. He's going to take his brother down. He's done with this. I love it how he uses the vibranium lighter to get through the the shield that Tony Stark had thought was impenetrable. And yeah, because again, they're remembering when they say take everyone, it's like not only is this Vision, we've been told a prophecy that Vision is going to be the death of us all.
You don't like those prophecies. Those are not the ones you want to hear. I remember the first time I read this, though, when he took the lighter and he put it in the door, I was like, what's he doing with the lighter? Like, why is he trying to break it? Like, it's a nice lighter. But no, the praying thing next to the video recording of the sun, that is what intrigues me the most, too. And this is because a few reasons. One, like, I love this moment where Vision just like saying mathematically, there are something like scientifically, there may be a God, but robots don't have souls. And it's just like, man, that is just a crushing thing to come to this realization of like, even if there is a God out there, he didn't create you. Like, you are not this thing. And religion is something that I find interesting in all works of art, because if people don't know, I'm not a religious person. I'm not even what I consider an atheist. I think there is a term for it. I can't remember, but it's just like, I don't subscribe to any religion. You could be right, you could be wrong. I don't know. I don't physically have the proof or anything, and I guess I just don't have that belief system that some people do. So I like when characters are questioning it, because that's something we do as humans too, like all the time when we talk about religion and whatnot. And when I talk to people that are certain ways and they go, okay, why do you feel this way, and why, what supports it, or what has got you to this point in life? And same thing, these are robots, these are synthoids that for no reason should be on their knees praying, but they're praying just because they've lost their son, brother, caretaker for the dog. They've lost someone important to them, and how are they trying to cope with it? Well, humans sometimes turn to prayer and try to, if there is a chance that there is a God, if there is a chance he has a soul, we want to be taken care of. And that's interesting because it's like kind of that desperate times sort of situation, right? And that happens a lot with people, and that's not a bad thing, but people lots of times have, especially people in recovery, turn to religion, and sometimes that really helps them because maybe they need that when they're lowest. And that's what this kind of is they're the lowest and they're looking for anything.
Mm-hmm. So shoes left. We got the penultimate next week.
Yeah, nice little cover of Sparky catching a frisbee. So yeah, no, it's a great series. I just recommend it to anybody, especially if you're enjoying the show. I got Kirkland and Taylor reading it because they just subscribed to Marvel Unlimited, so they're breaking some cherries right now because it's just they're like, okay, I got read
so
this,
many
read
good
this.
Things.
Oh yeah, and Marvel Unlimited is just, it's when I was showing them over like as a first time viewer again, like when you go to like the reading list and it's like, here you have this and you got the spotlights, and it's just like, it's just so handy to have for everyone. I gotta ask you this, Chris, because I don't have it currently, but DC Universe Infinite, I don't know why they added Infinite on it, but like it's still just American based, right?
Yeah, it's supposedly it's rumor is that this summer finally it's gonna move it, and
Okay.
I keep on telling our buddy Travis Hines that we'll see.
Yeah, no, that
we heard that for the last couple of years when it premiered. Like we're working on it.
yeah,
But
Heinz,
the thing I wish they would steal Marvel Unlimited, you need to take the pinning of the series. I
yes.
hate trying to build my reading list and
One
just
by
do
one
an
by
issue
one.
and just have it in there. I want the series.
Add all button, boom, done. Like
Yes.
easy add series. And no, I agree with you. And no, it's Travis Hines, I respect you for taking the honorable route. Because if you don't know Geekverse, we're gonna start reading some comics because they've not really read much Kirkland Taylor. And I will go the VPN route to get DC Universe because it's also a great thing. And Hines, it's good for you. You can wait till summer, but we're gonna get that VPN. We're gonna subscribe.
I didn't say it was waiting until summer. I just said that.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure because he's still like, there's so many times before HBO Max was coming out, he's like, yeah, we're just not gonna be able to get it, Travis. And I'm like, I sent him a screenshot. It's like, I'm watching HBO Max right now. I have it on my.
I know what you're talking about.
I have my PlayStation 5. Like, you just gotta get the right one, and I'm paying for it. Stuff like that. It's all legal. It's just that I want it, and Canada sucks. Canada has lots of great things, but their broadcasting thing, oh my god! Like even the Super Bowl commercial, for every like 5 commercials, we get like one. It's
and football. Don't forget football.
Canadian football sucks. Yeah, that lots of things suck here, but it's.
I mean, like Hines makes it sound like he's like Amish land. Like that's how he makes it sound like. It's like, oh, technology. Like I just mentioned, technology doesn't make its way out here, and I'm like, how are you talking to us? Like I do not understand. But yeah, I hope and pray people are able to get HBO Max and DCU and Infinite worldwide, because it is just seems a little bass backwards that people can't have access to it when the United States does.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why once I had Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe, I ended my subscription of Comixology Unlimited because there's no reason.
Well, speaking of that,
I'll
though,
buy my independence from them easily.
Mm-hmm. Next week, I think it's gonna be in here. I'll be able to show off my Spider-Man Volume 2 omnibus. Is about to be coming here, featuring Spider-Man No More and stuff like that. So I'm gonna show that off next week. My Moon Knight one's right there. I'm about a quarter through it. It's pretty good, and yeah, it's I'm very excited. I got 2 more coming this year, and yeah,
he's building. I infected him.
You did, yeah. Well, Tim, thank you very much for coming on. It was lots of fun to like formally talk and, pick your brain on some stuff. And it's always good for me and Chris to get a guest on here to like, for the viewers, break it up and get, especially during WandaVision, get some other thoughts. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule to do this.
Oh, thank you for having me. Obviously, like I said, I had the free time, and obviously, I enjoyed talking to Chris, and I hadn't talked to you previously. So you know what? I felt like this is the perfect opportunity to do so. And yeah, I'm like everybody else in the world, like, no, we're all cooped in our house. So being able to talk to anybody right now is a blessing. So I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth with this episode.
Call us a goon anytime. We'll invite you back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that your safe word? Is that the word to get goon? Like that's the speakeasy. That's the password to get in here. I just hope I wasn't too.
Maybe.
I just hope people who download this are just wondering, like, why did they get that annoying ginger who thinks he's really funny to make jokes the entire time?
Oh, that's okay. If they're listening to this, they know they're listening to some people that already think they're funny and not, meaning myself. I won't throw Chris in there, but myself, Chris carries the show. He keeps everyone here. People are just trying to, wait for me to screw up and say something,
Hey, I always say I feel so small and insignificant, but yet I always feel so small and insignificant, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, boy.
Well, Tim, you talked about a little bit, but again, where could they find you on the interwebs if they wanted to track you down and all the other great stuff you're doing?
Yeah, if you want to follow me on social media, I made it real easy for you. You can find me both on Twitter and Instagram. This is Tim Rooney, Rooney as an Rooney. My podcast, the Anything Goes podcast, and please rewind the RF4 as in the number 4 RM Retro Show. That was my podcast and my YouTube channel, Through the Lens Productions, youtube.com/Through the Lens Productions, through as if you're going through a portal into another dimension. All my short films are up there, and I have plenty of stuff in the works. And I like keep myself busy creatively, so keep an eye out for that.
Very nice, very nice. And as always, you can find me at Travis B. Snell. I'm on here. I'm on Geekverse. Getting in trouble with Taylor. I got a trial coming up, so if anybody has any information and stuff, I've invited Chris, I've invited Brent. If you are free, sir, February 27th, I'll give you a time. You can join. We're getting a whole jury. Just to break this down, we do polls on our Facebook, and Ghost Rider was in a poll. Taylor really likes Ghost Rider, and maybe an hour before the poll closing, half of my podcast thinks that maybe he was doing some influence, some maybe rigging of the polls, and the other half is like, oh no, it's fine. So he's going to be put on trial, and we're going to see if he's guilty. So I'll send you all the details. But that I'm preparing for the trial of my life, ladies and gentlemen. So anyone that has law experience, let me know. I'm building my case right now. I'm getting witnesses.
He's watching a lot of a lot of lawyer movies.
A lot of Dick Wolf, all Dick Wolf, just 24/7. But find me there. There's reviews. There's fun stuff. And maybe I'll drop you a GIF, and that I love GIFs. So.
Travis is seeking the truth.
Yeah,
Always.
I mean, he's already halfway there because he has the correct pronunciation of that word there. I know, Chris, you said the improper use of the word GIF earlier on, and I'm like, nope, it's
GIF,
no,
GIF.
No, that's not it.
Put a T on that. What is it pronounced? It says gift.
Yes, that's true. Hey, I go back and forth. I don't even know anymore, nor do I even care.
I'm pedantic. I clearly.
Oh, yeah. just the same thing, and I'll put my hot take on there. Guess what? Just like Harrison Ford, I don't care if Greedo shot first. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Fair. Anyways, fun times, right?
Yes.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Thank you for everyone that joined us in the live chat and listening right now. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balligan. You can follow the show at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions, fact or fictions. Hey, if you maybe want to join us on the show, we definitely might be interested. Hey, well, you never know. That's calls goon. Yes,
I insulted them. They invited me on, so they couldn't invite anybody on at this point.
We're a glutton for punishment. So continue to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whichever your podcatcher of choice may be. As always, thank you again, Tim, for coming on. Thank you, listeners. Be safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers.